Welcome to the 461st episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. My name is Tony, and this is the podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of extra podcast entertainment every single week. I've been doing a few off of minds lately. Yeah, last week was a kind of last minute thing because of some comic book cover controversy. If you heard what happened the previous weekend about Amazing Spider-Man number 1000, it looked like the cover had been pulled because some people online were complaining or mocking it, and then there was another press release, and it was kind of missing for the most part. So it looked like, did Marvel pull the cover by classic creators or not? Then they claimed, no, this didn't happen. There's a mishap or something, and it would be explained on Monday. It wasn't. So you can hear about that. Other times I talk about random old classic comic books, just kind of like a look back. So we'll probably will do. I don't know what we'll do this week. I don't know if I have another off of mind in me just yet. We'll see. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, I understand. You can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck. You can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 3. That is ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. You can also purchase like off of mine's, certain episodes on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Go to the shop tab, and you can buy episodes for the same price as a cup of coffee, as a virtual coffee. And if you do it online and not on the iOS app, you save a little bit, because on the iOS app there's a Apple markup, because that's what they do. All right, so what is going on this week? I am back home. Last week episode might have sounded a little different because I was recording from my parents' basement. I was out to see the family, and it's always weird going back home, just seeing how everything changes. And it's in the Midwest, it's a different place, and yeah, so it's always weird to go back. So back home now, I'm still adjusting. It feels like it's only been a couple days, but trying to get back in the swing of things, and now being on summer vacation, I still haven't had a chance to fully catch up, because then traveling back, trying to get caught up on watching the TV shows that I'm about to talk about, reading all the comics and everything. I haven't had a chance to just really sit back, and I'm on summer vacation, because with the podcast, it just always keeps me busy. So what are we going to talk about this week? TV shows I mentioned. We have another episode of My Adventures with Superman. So the second episode from season 3. So we're going to be a little bit behind, because I believe the episodes drop on Sundays, and these go live Sunday afternoon. So there's no way I could catch that. It might air on a Cartoon Network on Adult Swim earlier, but yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're just going to finish off the Spider-Noir season, one episode per, just week by week, just to kind of enjoy each episode. So looking at the 6th episode, I believe there's 8, because we have some other shows coming soon. I'm totally blanking right now. I think there's something coming within like a week or 2. And then the movie feature is Supergirl, so you can hear about that. And yeah, it's interesting seeing the mixed reactions, because I'm gonna talk about that. We'll talk about that in the news, like the early reactions and critic reactions. But let's get into some news with Daredevil. Start there. Daredevil Born Again season 3. There's a theory on why Elektra's returning, why she's back, and there's some footage shooting, whatever footage. What do you call it? Set footage. I'm totally blanking. And she's wearing kind of like a red and black costume, which is sort of like Daredevil's kind of costume. And if they're going along with what happened in the comics, Elektra took on a Daredevil moniker. Is that what they call it? So she kind of became Daredevil to take or to help protect Hell's Kitchen because Daredevil wasn't around. Or so I forget exactly where was Daredevil. Was he quote unquote dead? And then he kind of died, and didn't he like save Foggy Nelson? And it's like some weird stuff. That could be. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like the Netflix Daredevil was so long ago, and I know some people weren't super crazy about the portrayal of Elektra that we had. And I don't think it was anything against the actress in particular, but maybe she didn't fit the look that some people wanted, or I don't know, because you look at like Elektra's origins. She's supposed to be Greek, right? I mean, what do I know? I don't remember how I felt about her because like I said, I feel like it was so long ago. Maybe she was fine. I don't. I mean, I don't feel like I like overly complained or had any issues with it. But we'll see. So, I mean, it makes sense for the most part. Everything in Born Again, it is the continuation of the Netflix Daredevil. They're doing that, and it's working. So, okay, we'll have to see how that goes. And with how Daredevil Born Again season 2 ended, it makes sense that Elektra might decide that she needs to be around. Okay, we'll see. What about there's some shocking news about Spider-Man Brand New Day. A couple of the scoopers are saying that Shocker's going to return. Now he was in, don't ask me which movie because I get the movie titles. I mix them up, the different Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. But we did have a little teeny tiny appearance of a Shocker. And the only reason I remember this is because I did a YouTube video. So was this around 2017? I did it after leaving GameSpot and Comic Vine. And I remember just doing this video, and I had a lot of time and effort. I put it into it. And I was very proud with how that video came out because I think it's on my YouTube channel. I feel like I should watch it again. I would love to do more stuff like that, but it takes a while, and then it's a matter of is it worth? And I know you got to put the content out to get the views and the following, but it takes a long time, and I feel like I'm already juggling so much. Like if I wasn't doing a podcast, then I could focus more on that. But it's yeah. So you got to kind of pick and choose. I feel like since there hasn't been any mention of Shocker, he hasn't been seen in any trailer. If he does appear, it's probably going to be like a throw. It's probably going to be just like I was going to say a throwaway. It's probably going to be like a cameo, like a joke, like oh there's Shocker again, and he gets beat up by Spider-Man, or maybe. Because I think Tom, during the press tour that Tom Holland and Zendaya are doing, Tom did mention that there is one person who knows. No. Because he said, no, that's me. I was going to say maybe he's the only one that knows. Because he was saying there's one person who knows who Spider-Man is. And she's like, no, you mean Peter Parker. Everyone knows who Spider-Man is. But so Tom Holland, I think he was saying that there's only one person that still remembers that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And now watch, somehow it's a Shocker. We'll see. Okay, I don't know if I should mention this now. I don't want to get into it because it's not really a spoiler, but I saw a post and I'm like, what does this even mean? People are complaining. I mean, oh my God, people will complain about anything, and here I'm complaining about this. But it's I just see so much complaint, and it really bothers me. I'll get into another thing in just a bit because it's kind of news and it's my show, so I can talk about what I want to news, right? People are talking about with Supergirl, and again, I could talk about this later. I think I'll talk about it now. They're mad because they're saying it had the worst needle drop. Now, I know what a needle drop what it means, but this article put like they posted so many people's like tweets, or I don't know if it was on Twitter, X, or where Threads or whatever, but a bunch of people were complaining about the needle drop in Supergirl, and I was like, is this really like a thing that people talk about now? I'm looking up needle drop meaning. A needle drop is an industry term for the strategic use of a pre-existing commercial song in a movie, TV show, or advertisement rather than original musical score. The term originates from the literal act of dropping a needle on a vinyl record player to start a track. Okay, but it's like, when do people, what is the needle drop and how to use it? Find a perfect music. So, I mean, it's something. Like I'm seeing a picture of for American Psycho. So yeah, Huey Lewis and News. I guess would that be considered a needle drop? Okay, so now I'm just pausing right now because I'm hearing as I'm home. Oh, it's a neighbor mowing the lawn. So you might hear some lawn mowing in the background. I could wait. I don't really have time to pause and wait. So you might hear a little bit of lawn mowing. I apologize. I can't afford. I don't have like a perfect podcast studio, but we're keeping it real, right? So back to the needle drop. So there's a picture of I think I mentioned yeah, so Huey Lewis and News. I guess that would be a needle drop because it is, if by that definition it's like a regular song in there. With Supergirl, I don't want to give away the song, even though I don't think it's a spoiler in any way. But during like a big fight, there's a cover of a song that I really like comes on. And people are calling that the worst needle drop. And I'm not really sure why they're saying it's the worst needle drop. It's an interesting cover. Now, I love cover songs. I used to search out like just random cover songs, like back when you could find music certain places, and a lot of it would be like live performances. A lot of time bands would do a cover during a concert, so they're not officially released. That's the only way you could ever hear them are these bootleg recordings basically. And what I like about them, there's one thing with just covering a song. When you cover a song, and I hope this is of interest. In my opinion, when you cover a song, you can't just do a straight-on rendition. Because you could do that and be like, oh, wow, this sounds really cool. But it's almost like, then it gets into territory, like, is this really necessary? If you're just doing a straight-on recreation, we don't need that. If you are going to add a little something to it, that's where it starts to get interesting for me. At the same time, you don't want to totally distort it and take away like the essence of the song, especially if it's something that means a lot to people. So I think a great cover needs to be really thought out and planned, and you have to be careful with that. Where you want to give it your spin, but you also don't want to like totally change everything. Like a lot of time, I'm a fan of like kind of like the punk covers of songs. They're a little more like upbeat, not necessarily sped up, but just a little more rockin'. Because while I love the pop music and stuff like that, at my essence, deep down, I'm all about the more like punk rock, stuff like that. But I've always talked about like Taylor Swift, and now I'm talking about Olivia Rodrigo. I talked about them last week. But I can appreciate like a good cover. So this movie, we in Supergirl, we get a cover of a song that kind of has some meaning for me. It's a song that I quoted a few years back when I gave a speech at my school's 8th grade graduation. Because there's a really great group of kids, and I asked, I was like, hey, could I give a speech? And they're like, okay. So I quoted part of the song because I kind of felt it was a good message for them. It may not be necessarily what the song intended. Maybe it was because I don't know the songwriters or anything, but it felt like it fit from these kids going from middle school to high school and so forth. So we get this cover. I never heard of the artist who performed this cover. It's definitely a different take, and maybe because it's not necessarily perfect for like a big battle scene, but I don't know. I really liked it. For me, I was like, wow, I love this, and I was like, I want to know who sang this cover. So people are complaining about that. Now the other thing I was talking about is complaining. Going back to Olivia Rodrigo, I'm still on the "You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love" high. I'm listening to this album nonstop, and I just think she is an amazing artist. She's an amazing performer, writer, and just hearing everything that she has to say. I guess what happened this week. I don't remember when it was announced last week. I don't think I talked about it, but she. Maybe I did, but she put out. She's started like a music festival. It's like female-led artists are going to be performing in Irvine, California, in August. The festival sold out within 30 minutes. Tickets sold out, and all proceeds from this concert go to like women's charities. That's great. That's awesome. Of course, people have to complain about this. And one thing it was Cigarettes After Sex. I've never listened to that band. I've heard the name, and I know people enjoy them. I've just, for some reason, they just never came onto my radar or my whatever, my listening stuff. But the drummer, he posted some comment. He's like, we're not going to be performing there, LOL. And then it's like TF. I don't know if that's the guy's name. But then a lot of people are like, why would you be there performing? You weren't invited. You're not. It's just. But this is the mentality where a lot of people and there's a lot of dudes that get mad about things. And with a show like this, where this is a woman's concert, doesn't mean only women can go. It's just all the proceeds are going to that. Because then there's a lot of people like oh, that can we have like a all male festival? You know what? Truth is, most festivals tend to be male-led bands. So there's nothing wrong with this. It doesn't mean anyone can go if you can get a ticket, but it just means that and even if you look at it, it's not like only women are performing, because I'm pretty sure, I think Garbage is performing, and Garbage, you got Shirley Manson, but the rest of the band isn't like all female. So this is a good thing. But also, Olivia Rodrigo, she got Sarah McLachlan to play, which is awesome. I don't know what she's been doing lately, but she did the Lilith Fair. She's getting Stevie Nicks to perform there, and I think it was Diane Sawyer on Good Morning America. She's like, "Are we going to get like you and Stevie Nicks doing a landslide duet?" And which I think that would be amazing. And I've been seeing a lot of Olivia Rodrigo content on Instagram and Facebook, and part of it is the algorithm, because I'm sitting there seeing these different clips or whatever headlines about she's a top global streamed artist on Spotify and this and that. Of course I'm going to see it. And then there's Pitchfork, which I think is a magazine, a video magazine or something like that. They're putting out a lot of content. They did this big interview, and they're doing all these they did video interviews, her talking about like the writing process of different songs, and the way Pitchfork is doing it, they're breaking them up. It's like, okay, here's about this song, here's about this song. So people, I look at the comments, and so many people are complaining when she's talking about their songwriting process on a song. Some people are like, oh, so like every other artist, it's just like, and some people are complaining, it's like oh, it's like so derogatory. They're saying, oh, the after party must have gone well because we're getting all this content. So I think that is like a majorly insulting insinuation, just because if it was male coverage, like if it was I was gonna say Sugar Ray. Uh, let's say we're getting all those like Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray does this big thing. We're getting. I mean, are people gonna make like sexual connotations that that's why we're seeing all this coverage because he must have done something? No, it is like so misogynistic. Is that the word? It's just sexist. But the main thing, and I see this all the time, like especially like Entertainment Weekly on Instagram, they post so much news about different things and they post a lot of the same stuff, but part of it what people don't understand is it's about the algorithm. Like Entertainment Weekly will post a lot about the Kardashians, about any of the Kardashians. They'll post a lot about Taylor Swift and stuff like that. And then when you read those comments, people are complaining, here we go again, here we go again, Timothy Chalamet, this and that, whatever. And it's like, okay, when you click on it, Instagram, the algorithm is taking note of that. When you're opening up the comments, when you are typing a comment, and it doesn't matter if you're typing a positive or negative comment, you are interacting with this piece of content. So the algorithm is going to be like, oh, you like this, or you interacted with this content about the Kardashians. We're going to search and give you more. Here's another Kardashians. So then you start seeing all this. So with the Olivia Rodrigo, yes, there's a lot of everyone is posting about her because this is like the top album. I guess she and Beyonce are the only artists, female artists, solo artists that their top three albums have debuted at number one on the Billboards, Billboard's Hot 200 or whatever it is. And so we're seeing all this records being broken, this and that, and so everyone is posting about it because people love the album. People are definitely listening to the album. It is streaming like nonstop. It's millions and millions of streams per day, and so of course people are going to talk about it. But then because you interact with that piece of content, you are going to see more. If you have no interest, scroll past it. And I just don't understand the mentality where people feel the need to express their disdain. And it's kind of similar to being positive, but I feel like more people tend to be negative, post negative things. It's always the extremes. I don't comment on stuff, where if I was like, oh, this is cool, I'm not going to necessarily, comment on it. But it's the what people tend to do is like if they really love something or they really hate something, they will post a comment. And when you do that, you are triggering the algorithm to give you more of that. And I'm just seeing all these people complain about, and it's like it's you're making yourself look ignorant. A lot of times I'll see like an Olivia Rodrigo post and people will be like, who? And it's like how the claim that you don't know who she is, and even if that is not your type of music, fine. But her albums have been huge, and the success. She's 23 years old, and to have the records that she's had, and by not records I don't mean like albums. I mean like the success that she's had. It's you got to know who she is, but people will just complain. And then there's like I was talking about last week, not yesterday, where people are saying like, oh, she's just successful because of Taylor Swift. And it really kind of, this is what's turning me off of like Taylor Swift, where there are the hardcore Swiftie fans that get angry, that get mad, that get defensive if someone else has any success over Taylor Swift. And they just start all this stuff, and it's like cult mentality, and that is what's been like turning me off of Taylor Swift, because I'm just seeing all this stuff. So I don't know, but I feel like we don't need to be complaining about so much. All right, so yeah, people are mad. Back to Supergirl. People are mad about the needle drop, and you watch it. You let me know what you thought. Did you hate it? Did it even? Does it affect you in any way? I don't know. We'll talk more on Supergirl later. Oh, according to like what people are saying. So I kind of touched on this with the reactions for Supergirl. I'll talk about the Rotten Tomato score later when we're talking about the movie. But I saw some, like on Facebook and Instagram, like some random people saying, I just saw Supergirl and I want to talk about it. And I was like, I don't know who you are. Congrats on seeing it. Awesome. You liked it. Great. I don't need to hear an early review. I don't want to know, I like to go into a movie. I don't want to know what the Rotten Tomato score is. Where every once in a while, they'll release it, tomato score revealed. I want to be able to look at it. I don't want to know if other critics loved it or hated it. And I don't always agree with them. So, it kind of doesn't matter. But I don't want any sort of influence. I want to go into a movie and see, did I like it? Great. If I did I not like it? Oh, maybe everyone else did. So apparently, and this is something that I have noticed in a way, Universal is not inviting fan site bloggers and influencers to advanced screenings of the Odyssey. And they're looking at it as, this is a Christopher Nolan movie. And I don't know if it's Universal, it's probably a Christopher Nolan thing. They're like, we don't need these people to come and watch these movies. And I'm not really sure what exactly the why this decision was made. Maybe they're looking at it as like, well, if we don't invite them, they're going to have to buy a ticket to see it. Maybe, I don't know. Because there is some value. Why are they invited in the first place? They are invited because they have their followings. Even if they're, when you say fan site bloggers, to me that sounds a little degrading, a little like you're insulting it. But if you are like a Doctor Who fan site, and you're going to post about all Doctor Who stuff, there's value in that, because then people who like that content, that subject, they are going to be going to these sites. And, I get, it matters how popular is the site or whatever, but you have these different things. And, you could say, where do I fall into this? I'm not even getting invited to these things, but I'm not actively seeking out those invitations. I probably could if I wanted to. And if I was in LA, then yeah, I would be, well, I don't know if I would be, because maybe I would be, but with the day job, it's a little harder. So I get all this. And then when you see like influencers, it's so funny. A lot of people have such a negative connotation about them, yet obviously people do care about these influencers because they have all these followings. There's always the things like, oh, they buy their followers, they pay for their followers, they're being followed by bots and maybe not, who knows. But I feel like that's just a lot of people that are just bitter that they got their popularity. Somehow they got their popularity. I don't understand how it happens. Something they just clicked with people, and it just goes from there. I haven't figured that out. I don't feel like I'm necessarily clicking with as many people as I would love. I appreciate you being here, listening. The influencers and bloggers, whatever, they have their value because they're going to tell their people this is really great. Now at the same time, they could say, yeah, this sucked. You run that risk. But if you are going to make content, I don't feel anyone goes out of their way. They're like, oh, this is a piece of crap, but we're going to put it out. I mean, sometimes there are movies that don't have any critic screenings. And when that happens, you're like, I wonder why that, why that is. They don't want early reviews to go out because something happened, things kind of fell apart, and maybe they're so, they've invested so much, or like, oh, you know what, let's just put this out. Hopefully we'll make something at least opening weekend before people talk about it, that it fell apart at the end or whatever. So stuff like that happens. So if you have a great product, of course you want people to spread the word of mouth about this. What this article that I saw about this, they're talking about like obsession, how like the word of mouth really helped it. I could be wrong with this. I could be wrong. I don't feel like influencers were invited to a screening of Obsession because it was such a small budget movie. I don't think they had like big screenings or anything like that. They may have had some. I don't know. I saw the trailer and I was like, holy crap, I want to see this movie. And I didn't know if it was going to be any good or not, but that trailer alone, when I saw it, and I was like, oh, awesome, it's playing at my theater, I'm going to check it out. So you have that. Now with Supergirl, I saw, like I said, it seemed like people were praising it. Great. And then when we talk about the Rotten Tomato score later, critics didn't think it was great. But with a movie like this, of course critics aren't going to be happy. And then you also run the risk of the dude bro critics that aren't going to be happy. And that I don't understand that mentality why people can't be happy if there's strong. It is not going to harm you if you have a strong female character in any sense of the word. It's like the people getting mad at the Daisy Fields. That was the Olivia Rodrigo Music Festival. Oh, the other thing I want to mention about her is what I think is great. She's not even top billed. She's like it's smack in the middle. So she's not seeking. She's doing this because she wants to have this, great bonding thing. And she says that a lot of time. I apologize for going off on this, but I just think she's got such a great head on her shoulder. Whether she's got people telling her what to say, doesn't feel like it. Maybe I could be wrong, but a lot of time women are pitted against each other. When a dude puts out a new song, you don't really hear like, oh, they're competing, but the women are always put up against each other. They're always compared. What about Taylor? What about Ariana? What about Katy Perry or whatever? I only say that because I think Katy Perry put out a new song, and it's just it's weird that happens. So she just wants to celebrate and just come together and have this great day, proceeds. Oh, and because like all the performers, they are making $0. They are all doing this for free. And then one of the comments are like, "What about the roadies? Are they going to be all female? Are they going to get paid?" It's like, oh my gosh. And then the other thing I want to say about her is her lyric videos. They are all made by artists. There's like no AI. So she wants to support artists and stuff like that. And what's interesting is people complained when Life of a Showgirl came out with the lyric videos. People were like, "Is this like AI used in these videos?" So there you go. So back to influencers and all that. Oh, so what I wanted to get at, this is my point. My goodness, is I've seen some influencers where they're at a movie premiere, and part of it is like some like cosplayers, because over the years I don't follow a lot of cosplayers, and it might be on my comic book account, whatever, which I hardly ever use. Sometimes I'll see some. I'm like, wait, why are you at this screening when you don't post reviews, you don't have a podcast, you don't have anything like that. You're an amazing cosplayer, but I guess what they do then, they have their cosplaying the whatever following, and then maybe they'll do a post. Here's pictures of me on whatever, the carpet leading up to, I guess it's the red carpet, whatever, or here's me dressed as something or whatever. And then they'll post about like, oh, I saw this movie, it was really great. And there's been, I don't, so like I said, since I don't go to that account all the time, but I've seen some, and I don't remember what movie it was, but there is one where they're like, oh, the movie was it was like a horror movie. It's like, it was so good, it was scary and everything. And I was like, that movie was not a good movie. And in my opinion, it was not like the best made movie or whatever. And it kind of felt like to me that this influencer, if you want to call him that, was saying that just because they were invited. And this is something that you can never do. If you are ever trying to, develop yourself as an influencer, as a reviewer, or, having some sort of online thing, is you have to be honest. And that is one of the things that always bothered me was like when we reviewed comics, is people are like, oh, you're getting paid for this. No one gets paid, at least in my opinion, no one gets paid to write or post or talk about anything like that. Because if you do that, if you compromise yourself, your credibility is out the window. You cannot say something mediocre or something garbage is great, because then when people look at it, they're going to be like, what the heck are you talking about? How can you say you love this when this is horrible? I went and paid money for this because you said it was cool, and this thing is dog poop. When I saw this person saying how this was such a great movie, and maybe they enjoyed it, but I was like, I feel like that's not the case. You just want to be invited to these things because deep down, who wouldn't want to get invited to like a movie premiere? Even if you're just going to watch it or whatever, and maybe you'll be able to get a picture with one the actors or whatever, and so that's all it feels like that's what it's about. So that their credibility, yeah, I'm not going to seek you out to hear what you say. And if that's what Universal and Christopher Nolan is trying to do away with, I'm all for it then. I don't need to see random things, people gushing about something just because they're excited they went there. I'm not saying that in no way do I feel, and absolutely, I do not feel that they were encouraged or paid to say something. They're probably just really excited about it, and then that's fine. That there is something to say about that. Like, what I'll say. I'll say right now, in case it wasn't clear, it's on my whatever Instagram or Twitter. I really enjoyed Supergirl. I thought it was a lot of fun. Critics did not, and it's one thing if you are excited about certain content, certain subjects, certain genres, then yeah, you're going to say something. Okay, so this is way too much about that. So no influencers at the Odyssey. And you don't want me to go to the Odyssey because right now I don't like the old timey stuff. I am absolutely not excited to see this movie. I feel like it is going to be really long and a bunch, and who knows? I might say this is like the best movie of the year, and I really hope it is. But old timey stuff is not my forte or whatever. So I will watch it. I have my ticket. I will be there. You take that, my thoughts with a grain of salt or whatever, because you know where I'm coming from. But I'm sure it's going to be an amazing movie. All right. Speaking of amazing movies, maybe not. Donkey from Shrek is getting his own movie. Did I already say I am not going to see Shrek 5? I don't think I saw Shrek 4. I think I talked about this last week. But now Donkey's getting a spin-off. Okay, great. Congrats to Shrek and Donkey fans. That I'm happy for you, and I say that with complete sincerity, no sarcasm, no cap. Is that what they say? It's just that's not my thing. I love Eddie Murphy. I think he can be hilarious. I'm not in the mood for Shrek. Okay. What about Absolute Batman? It's no secret Absolute Batman is not my favorite comic. People love it, and that is great for the industry because people are going to comic shops. People are buying comics, and hopefully when they're going to get their Absolute comics or Absolute Batman comics or whatever, they're picking up other books as well because we need people to buy comics. We need people to support comic stores. My comic store, I'm assuming might have been a lack of sales. That's why they decided to close up shop. And for me, I didn't even go there often because I read digitally. But every once in a while, I would go there, and of course, I would go to the back issue bins. I love back issues. Even if I've read them, I love these old comics. And every once in a while, I would buy a new issue of something. If it's like, oh, Mike Allred has a book, I need to get that. I need a physical copy. So, Absolute Batman is getting an animated series. And I'm not excited for that. It's fine. And part of it is I absolutely respect and I appreciate how elements are so different in Absolute Batman. Because otherwise, this was kind of my complaint when we had the original Ultimate Universe, when we had Ultimate Spider-Man by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley. That was an amazing, no pun intended. That was a great comic. Was it really necessary? And I would imagine I was probably saying that. It's like, do we really need to go back and revisit? Because we had like Untold Tales of Spider-Man, so we had young Peter Parker. And it just felt like do we really need this? Those back issues, those trade paperbacks exist. These stories were told, you know, expertly, whatever. Does that make sense? And so it's like, okay, we're just revisiting time. Great, cool. Making more money, awesome. Okay, that's fine because I want you to make money, so we get more great content. But as much as I love that was such a great run. It was, I mean, essentially, it was just Spider-Man. There were maybe some little tweaks here or there. Aunt May seemed a little younger, a little hipper. Not always on death's door, but yeah. So we had all that. Absolute Batman, we're getting like so much different stuff, and that's what makes it cool because it's not just slap a adjective in front of Batman and make a comment. How long have I been talking about this? This feels like the longest news segment ever. So let's just cut to it. We're getting an Absolute Batman animated series. The question is, what does this mean about Batman Caped Crusader, which is starting up soon? And I'm afraid is Amazon dropping all episodes at once? I hate that. Have I said that before? Because it always feels like we've only had like one Batman animated series at a time. I know right now, don't we have like the Batman Wheels or Bat Wheels or some kids show, and there's some other Bat Family. I'm not watching either of those. So hopefully, it doesn't mean because Cape Crusader, I think it had a 2-season order at Prime Video, and there hasn't been any mention for a third season. So I guess it will depend. Watch the second season when it starts. I don't remember if it's next week or next month. But I'll try to talk about it. We're also supposed to get a Joker animated series. It's called Joker Laugh Riot. And here, basically, Batman has been murdered. So Joker is trying to hunt down the killer who took away his greatest adversary. Because without Batman, he doesn't know who he is. Okay. Again, is that necessary? I don't know, but it's something different. So we'll see. I don't know how long you can. We'll see. There's also going to be a crypto series. I love the Crypto to Superdog series with Streaky and the other super pets. Me and my kid, she loved that show, and so that will always have a place in my heart. And they were supposed to release. I don't know if it was like DVD or Blu-ray. I don't know if it ever came out. Because I would love to own it. I have like some Blu-ray or some DVDs, whatever. And then, so with this crypto, so it's coming from Chowder creator. I've never watched Chowder. So CH Greenblatt. People love Chowder. I just never watched it. I guess the synopsis is when he's not hanging out with Superman or Supergirl, Crypto tags along with a gang of misfit criminal wannabes who live down the block, and they soon discover he's a ball of destructive, lovable energy worse than any of them. As he follows them into misadventures and poorly laid plans, Crypto's pure nature slowly ends up redeeming them, whether they want it or not. Okay. I mean, that's fine. What about Ratatouille 2? Apparently, Brad Bird's like, nope, we don't have any plans. There's no plans for Ratatouille 2. Apparently, Disney wants it. They keep like bringing it up and like kind of pressuring them, but they're like, nope, like we kind of told the story we had to tell. Okay. And I respect that. Even though people may want it. I haven't really said it's like, oh man, I wish we had a Ratatouille 2. But, there are people that want that. And if Disney wants that, I'm glad that they're not doing what the Disney overlords are saying, that they're like, yeah, we got nothing to say here, so that's good. Zendaya is apparently supposedly allegedly in talks to take over like the Bourne Identity franchise legacy for Matt Damon. Okay, we'll see. I don't know what that means. Are they just rebooting it with her in a role? Is it any connection to Matt Damon? Whatever. We'll see. There was a weird trailer. I heard about this and I saw it at the theater for Digger, Tom Cruise thing. Because my daughter and I got to the theater. There's that that one Oak Street with the movie about the dinosaurs. Which I can't wait to see that movie. I forget what it's called. But then we start seeing this like Tom Cruise trailer, and it's just like a compilation. It's like he's not dead, and it's like is he having some milestone birthday? Or like we're celebrating like all these different clips from all the Tom Cruise movies, and he's done a lot, and there's still Tom Cruise movies I still haven't seen. But then it's like this huge Tom Cruise retrospective just to give us a little short thing about Digger, and I'm not even really sure what Digger is about. I read online something about him saving the world from I saw I said an iceberg named Judy. Is that wrong? I don't even know. I have no idea what the movie's about, and I don't even remember seeing any footage from it. But maybe because we just got there. Okay, and then the last bit of news finally is Himesh Patel says that Ryan Coogler's X Files still hasn't been officially ordered to series. So for me, like, what does this mean? Did they film the pilot? And this is where it's like crazy, and this is the same thing that happened. It seems like what happened with the Buffy revival, where you got like all this news, all these people joining the cast, this and stuff like that, and then it doesn't go anywhere. So it's like that would suck. Where these people are like, hey, you want to be in this, and then it's like they got to clear their schedule. They can't take on other gigs with the possible. I don't understand how that works, but I guess that's the nature of Hollywood or whatever. So we'll have to see. And it's so crazy that you're going to develop something like X Files, and it's got to be a big production studio behind it, and you're doing all this not knowing where it's going to air, because most of the time it's like, oh, this is Hulu's going to do this, or whatever. Oh, because we also have like a Marceline and Bubblegum spin-off, Adventure Time. I'm so excited for that. I hope that doesn't mean that Fiona Adventures of Fiona and Cake is not getting a third season. But with that, it's like the studio, there, it's gonna where it's gonna stream. But I guess with this like Batman's Absolute Batman and Joker, we're assuming that's gonna be on HBO Max. I don't know, so we'll have to see, and hopefully we'll get more. I don't know what to think about this X Files stuff, because I haven't seen anything. But fingers crossed. I want it to be great, because I really enjoyed the original, and I would like to see more. So that is all the news for now, but there's plenty more to talk about. That is the news for the week. Okay, that's so long. Comic books. What do we have? At Mad Cave, we had Racer X number 8, and I don't know, since I don't follow like news enough. I don't. It's felt like this was the last issue, and in the issue, it's like trade paperback available. Like, I don't know if it was August or something like that, and I'm kind of tempted. And I really want to support Mad Cave as much as possible. Especially like the Speed Racer stuff and the Gotchaman. So this was an interesting comic. I'm so fascinated with anything Speed Racer and Racer X, and it's been cool to see. I would love for this to continue, and yeah, so check it out, issue 8. What I wasn't aware of, I must have missed in one of the earlier issues, because I think this was Mark Russell was writing this comic, but it turns out that there was like a couple people who knew Racer X's secret, and it was kind of like a threat. So it's like, what are you going to do about that? There's Gotchaman 19. So we've had this phantom ascendancy. These people, they came, they kind of evolved. They're gone for a year. They're missing, and all this stuff like that. And they're back. They're people are like, oh, they're like angels, and they're supposed to like save the world and stuff like that. But are they? Are they really? So we're getting some more information, and yeah. So I love Gotchaman. So I'm again so incredibly thankful that Mad Cave is putting these comics out. At Image, I don't. Did I read anything at Image? I feel like I did not. So let's just get to Marvel. We had Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Versity number 3, and it's so weird that this is called Amazing Spider-Man when Spider-Man's not even in this comic, but it's more about we basically have Norman Osborn and kind of Jessica Drew. Norman Osborn wanted to train the other Spider characters like Miles Morales and Spider Boy and Spider Girl and Silk and Anya Corazon. Basically, he feels Spider Gwen, of course, Spider Gwen. He wanted to train them. He wants to make sure they're capable of if he ever turns evil, he wants them to be able to stop him and stuff like that. He has some questionable means, like he's kind of employing some villains to do some bad things for them to take on like actual threats and stuff like that. So and yeah, and Jessica isn't aware of this, and she's like, "Do you better not have anything to do with this?" He's like, "No, no, no." So it's a weird comic though, because then you look at it, it's like Miles is like hanging out here. What's he doing at home? Doesn't he have school? It's like, how does it fit? And I know you just don't worry about it, but yeah, Miles Morales he's such a mess. But what I like is at least there's mention of like of a Gwen and Cindy's band, that we've seen in the Spider Gwen comic. So that's cool. Captain America number 12. Armageddon assembles now. Captain America. So I guess we can talk about it now. He's not doing so well. He's like on the verge of dying, and his soul is apparently in hell. Why is he in hell? That is not where Captain America should be. Things have happened. And who does he run into in hell? You can see on the cover. Dr. Doom, Victor Von Doom. It's like, wait, what? What is going on? So, Victor wants him to help, and, we need to stop Mephisto. And so it's just like weird and crazy, but I will say, and then who does Mephisto, when he finds out, like, oh, there's this Captain America, so I don't know if he knows this Captain America or not. Oh, he must know it, because then he is going to dispatch someone. Oh my gosh, another character that I can't. How many characters do I like despise? And there's so many villains I can't stand. But one, just when I thought it's like, oh, we're done with this villain, and they find a way to bring him back. So we got that coming up the next issue. But this is good. I mean, Chip Zdarsky is doing a great job. Doom Quest number 2. This is weird. Ryan North is writing this. Let's see, the art's Francesco Mobili. Basically, it's Doctor Doom traveling through time. He wanted to go back in time and make things work out in Latveria's favor. He's like, I'm going to change it so everything works out for us. And Reed kind of caught wind of this and tried to throw a kink in his plan or whatever. So Doctor Doom, he's like in some random body, and he ends up on a Titanic, and he's trying to change things. It's just and then he ends up like kind of, if he dies or something like that, he it resets and he's back, and it's just really weird. And I don't know how this fits into current continuity. It doesn't. And it's probably a matter of like, hey, let's put out this other Doctor Doom comic, so when Doomsday comes out, we can have all these trade paperbacks ready to go on sale, so people will buy them after or before they watch the movie. Okay, that's how it works. I get it. Fine. Then we had Generation X-23 number 5. This is good. Anytime you have Laura and Gabby in a comic, I'm happy. I don't really care for this facility. And we got this infinite dude. I can't stand him. He's basically a piece of crap, arrogant piece of crap. So we got more information coming out, and so there's some cool things here. I don't know how I feel about these other powered people, but whatever. So we'll see. Then we had Infernal Hulk number 8. Man, I tried reading this, and I was reading these on the plane back from my parents, and it's just I started losing track of like what the heck is going on. And you can see on the cover Scars there and these other people, and there's these trees, and there's a good tree and a bad tree, and I just don't know. I just want a Hulk comic, and we're not getting this. Moonstar #4 is out. I'm not sure what that's about. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge: Echoes of the Empire #3. This is this has been okay. It's it's weird because we have Rey being told a story about like Leia and Luke, and back when they're searching for Han. So it's a weird connecting and they're calling like the Rey stuff now, like this the current stuff, okay, even though it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And it's just I it's an okay story. I'm trying to see where we're going. It's not. I mean, it's not bad, but yeah, we'll see. Ultimate Endgame #5. Yeah, so I think this is the one you want to read. Wait. Yeah, I think this is the one you want to read first. We get this big battle against a thinker and blah blah blah. It's a good ending, I guess. There's some good things that happen, but for me, it was hard for me to get into because I only really cared about Ultimate Spider-Man. I mean, that was an amazing. I did it again. That was a incredible comic. Man, why does Marvel use all the words, all the adjectives I want? So it was so good. The other ones I couldn't get into. Ultimate Black Panther, that was fine. Then about all the stuff with the kings and this and that and stuff going on, and but what really turned me off was the cult of Moon Knight or whatever it was, and they're bad, and I was like, what is this? What's going on? So I just lost interest. I stopped reading it. Ultimate Wolverine, I tried reading that. It didn't really do it for me. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be like Wolverine and Winter Soldier like combined in one, and then there's something with Jean Grey, and yeah, so I wasn't sure what was happening there. And then Ultimate X-Men, it was fun, and Peach Momoko's art was incredible, but it just didn't feel like it connected with the rest of the universe. So it's like this is a intriguing story, but I feel like it's not really affecting anything. And if I don't read it, I don't feel like I'm missing out on what's going to happen in this universe. And a lot of it was because of time. I didn't have time to read everything, so I'm like, well, I guess I can't. I don't have time to read this, and I stopped. And then a lot of it, especially like with Ultimate Wolverine and Black Panther, when it's like, well, the Ultimate Universe is coming to an end. So then I'm like, then why should I bother reading these books? Yeah, they could be good and entertaining, but if it's just going to end, then that's it, or is it? So we had that. We get a good, and I mean there's like one really good thing obviously that happens. So we had that, and then there was Ultimate Universe finale #1, and this was like a really, I forget how many pages this was. It's a lot of pages, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories in here, which makes sense because you're covering. It's basically, this is like after the finale, so it's like, okay, where's the Ultimate Spider-Man characters that are still around? What about then there's like Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate Wolverine, Ultimates, and Ultimate X-Men. So we get some stuff with them. So that was fine, and I don't want to say anything else, but will we get more Ultimates is a question, and that's what I've always felt when Marvel's saying, yeah, we got this successful new line of comics, but we're just gonna end everything and throw it away. That just seems dumb. Like you're just throwing money in the garbage. So we'll see. And then we had Reborn Ultimate Impact #2. What the heck is this about? I'm sorry to those involved with this, but you have these. What are they even called? These boxes, origin boxes. So like Miles has an origin box, and then Spot has like stolen them. Like, why is he stealing them? Who is he? Did someone tell him to? Is he doing it for himself? I don't know. And then there's a lot of like Punisher in this. It's like I didn't care for that. We got Venom 259, So you can see on the cover, we got Mary Jane has a new look for Venom. Cool. I think she looks good. But there's a lot of stuff. It's weird that this is supposed to be about Mary Jane, but there's stuff with Dylan and there's stuff with Rick Jones and like the other like Toxin and Sleeper, the other symbiotes. And then what I hate is there's stuff about Null and Null coming in. I guess the Queen in Black. I thought that was over because I was like not reading that, but at the end, what's it say? Queen in Black #1 is coming. Like I guess it hasn't happened. I'm not looking forward to that. Wolverine 22. I actually read this because I was like, "What's the deal with Wolverine and his broken claws?" I was like, "Who cares? He's broken his claws in the past when he lost his adamantium. They grow back." But there's the adamantine. I don't know if that's a person, whatever. It did something and affected his adamantium or his healing factor. His healing factor basically is like busted now. It's he's not doing great at all, and he's just having to deal with everything. And it's like his body is not that it's rejecting stuff, but yeah. So he's in a messed up state. But then he ends up fighting. I guess I shouldn't say who, but then it's like, wait, where's his healing factor? Oh, look, somehow it's been given to someone else. It's like, how do you even do that? How do you take Wolverine's healing factor and give it to someone else? And it might be obvious, but since I haven't been reading this comic so much, I don't necessarily know. So yeah, we'll see about that. Then there's X-Men 32. This was okay, with the what's it, the 3K people and stuff like that. So this was fine. Yeah. And then there was a X-Men Outback #1. I didn't read this. Who's this by? Steve Orlando and Steven Segovia. So the reason I didn't read this is it's going back to when the X-Men were in Australia. That was a cool time in comics. And I may go back and try to read this if I remember it. But it was a matter of time. I was on a plane. I was just like, I'm tired. I don't feel like reading anymore. And it just feels like this is one of those things. It's just like when we had the Savage Land Rogue comic. I didn't read that because I felt like I don't need to read that because it's like you can't really do anything major because that time has come and gone. So you're not going to get any big, huge revelations because we've seen what happens after. I don't know, but I maybe I'll go back and read this. We'll see. And then that was it for Marvel. At DC, see, there was Absolute Superman #20, which is, I'm not reading that. We had Absolute Wonder Woman. I can never see what numbers this is. I think was it #20? Maybe also. This is good. There's just something about this Wonder Woman and this like what I was saying about Batman, where it's not just Wonder Woman with Absolute slapped on top of it. And I guess you could say the same thing for Superman, but I haven't read the Superman comic in a while. I've only read the first few issues, and it wasn't working for me. And again, part of the time and not getting early access to DC's comics, I just couldn't keep up with it. But with Absolute Wonder Woman, her origin's different. Growing up in hell, having like magic powers. It's like so intriguing. So and it's Kelly Thompson. Kelly Thompson. I will say every chance, every opportunity I get, she is such an amazing writer, and I loved like everything that she does. Give me an Absolute Wonder Woman animated series. I mean, I'll take that over Absolute Batman. But yeah, Absolute Wonder Woman. It is my favorite Absolute comic. But I guess the only ones I'm reading is Absolute Wonder Woman and Absolute Batman. So I want to read the other ones someday, perhaps. We had Superman #39. So this has Prime and it, Superboy Prime. And I'm kind of digging his character a little more. But we have Manchester Black, and I've never been a huge Manchester Black fan just because I just never really got into him. Like when he first appeared, I wasn't reading that, and then seeing him come here and there, I was just like, it's just a lot of attitude. It's like, oh, he's punk rock, he's got this whatever, anti authority or whatever, and it's just like, okay, whatever, just it's like you're trying too hard. And then he's like dead, and now he's back, and it's like, is he a villain, is he not a villain, whatever, because anti-establishment, I don't know. But now he's back, and he's giving Prime like a hard time, and it's like, wait, how are you doing all this stuff? I don't even understand. Yeah, so not super crazy about that. Justice League Unlimited, I I looked at like the first page, and it was like all these characters, and I was just like, I don't know what's going on here, and I was like, I don't have time for this, so I didn't read that. Wonder Woman 34. I know a lot of people. I see online. I see a lot of anti Tom King comments, which is weird because he's been, he's written a lot of good stuff. Heroes in Crisis, I hated, and some other stuff that he's didn't he killed. He's the one that killed Alfred, right? Which I hated. I was telling my daughter about that, and I was telling her about like the after we saw Supergirl about what happened with Crypto in the comics, and I'm pretty sure I said, I was like, if he kills Crypto, that is the stupidest thing ever. You do not kill Crypto. And just like I think it's stupid that Alfred is dead. Don't get me started. So with Wonder Woman 34, this is taking place, I guess, in the future. And this matriarch, is that her name? See, I don't even know. But it starts off where she kills a Green Lantern, and she takes the ring. It's like Green Lantern Sector 2814 or whatever, is like deceased, seeking, and she grabs it before it can find a suitable replacement. And she's like fighting and fighting, and she's saying how, like, oh, you seek out those who have no fear. It's like, I don't fear anyone; they all fear me, and blah blah blah, and all this like that. And she's just, it's just ridiculous. And then I'm not even sure what the ending means. I mean, there's a couple cool moments, but yeah, I don't know. Detective Comics 1110. I'm intrigued with this storyline. So I love that we have Batman with Green Arrow and Black Canary. It's a great. It's nice to see Batman interacting with others. Even though this is like a Batman comic, but whatever, it's detective comic. Give us something a little different. And how Batman and Ollie, they're not the best of friends, but they do have a respect for each other. So there's some cool things happening, and then this is tying into some kid from the past and this scheme going on now. So there's cool things going on here. So I'm digging that. And then let's see, I didn't read Green Lantern 36. Someday I will start up with that again. Flash 34. I'm only reading this because Ryan North is writing it. And apparently, some people don't like his stuff, his Fantastic Four. I don't know, or maybe I'm just thinking like Rob Liefeld not liking. Rob Liefeld was complaining about Mark Waid, and he was saying how, and when he was saying all this stuff, he made a point saying how Mike Marvel doesn't have anything worthy. They haven't had any. There hasn't been any good Fantastic Four stories in years, and he makes a point to criticize like all the Marvel stuff because it seems like he is still mad that he didn't get invited to the Wolverine Deadpool after party. I don't know, I could be totally wrong. But Flash 34, this is interesting because Flash is starting to, like, he kind of has a new power developing where he gets like a flash of the future where he can kind of see what might happen, and he's talking to Mr. Terrific, he's like, how is this possible, and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting with that to see where this is going to go. Zatanna number 3 was out. I should try to check that out. I haven't read any of those, so I don't know. And then that's it. That's all I read. There's Superman Father Tomorrow. There's a Summer of Supergirl. I didn't read this. It feels like this was just put out because of the movie, maybe. And it's like an oversized comic. So I was like, I don't have time for oversized comics. There's Bizarro Year None. I didn't love the first issue. That's a Kevin Smith comic. And then there's Swamp Thing 1989 or whatever. I forget who's writing that. And I think there's a Harley Quinn. I'm really curious, like what's going on with Harley Quinn now. I should check it out, but I have no idea. But that's all I read. So that is going to be comic books for the week. All right, one more episode of Spider-Noir. We're just going to do one. Season 1, Episode 6, Nightmare on a Gurney. And yeah, things get crazy here. And so last episode, we saw Kat found out the story of Ben's story. He explained everything to her, and then she realized that this Doctor Faber might be able to cure those inflicted, the mutated, whatever, and it might have something to do with Ben, with his physiology. She still cares about Flint, and she goes and tells Dr. Faber, she's like, and basically she betrayed him. So it was pretty bad. This episode starts off, it's still raining. Someone's stands outside Ben's place as he's packing inside because he thinks that him and Kat are gonna take off. They're gonna leave the city. They're gonna go, live a quiet life together. Just give everything up. And so he's packing inside. He like puts a bunch of cash in an envelope for Janet, and then he puts a photo of him and he looks at there's a picture of him and Ruby. He kind of looks at it. He sticks it sort of like under the lining of the suitcase. Like, so even though he's going off with Kat, he still wants to have this memory, which is okay. It's like under his undershirts or whatever. And then he takes a suitcase out from under the bed, and his spider mask is inside. He like looks at it, and then his like spider sense goes off, the warbling whatever thing, and there's a knock on his door. He looks through the peephole, and it's Ogden. So he wonders like, what the hell is he doing here? Ogden knocks again. He's like, I'm not here to cause any trouble. So Ben grabs his pistol. Ogden says that he'd just like a minute of his time, please. Ben opens the door, immediately holds the gun up to Ogden. And, he stammers. He's like, that's not really necessary. He's like, I haven't had a gun in my hand since the war. And then Ben's like, the Civil War? And Ogden laughs. He's like, you don't remember me. And he's like, from yesterday? He's like, no, back in France. You saved my life. And Ben's like, what are you talking about? And he slowly pulls out the photo from his pocket. They called me Freckles because I look so young. They thought I was 15 and lied to get into the war. I suppose I was one of the fortunate ones. I'm still breathing, but my mutation is aging me at a dog's clip, and it's getting worse as it goes. Dr. Faber is my last chance to survive. She's a good woman, trying to do a good thing. So Ben's like, you want a drink? So they go inside. How old are you really? I'll be 36 in April, if I live to see it. I'm not the only one who's suffering. Like, that's why I came here. And Ben's like, if you're looking for the files, I don't have them. The files don't matter. I mean, not really. They're just a laundry list of failures. Dead ends and dashed hopes. It's your reporter friend. If he prints the story, that's the end of Faber's work. That's the end of me. And he's like, I'm sorry. But it's too late. Robbie wouldn't stop even if I asked him to. And you won't even try? No. Why? I mean, don't you want to see your comrades cured? Would you want to be cured? What is that supposed to mean? Means I know who and what you really are. I followed you into that ward that day when you and your unit saved us. That day when that thing bit you. If you hadn't changed your name, I would have come knocking at your door years ago. Dementia hit early, huh? Don't do that. I can excuse a lot, but I deserve better than that. You're delivering me a death sentence. At least have the decency to be honest. And he finally pulls out his spider mask. Truth is, this is a part of me I wish never existed. And as of tomorrow, it no longer does. I'm leaving town, starting over, as Ben Riley. I'm sorry, Freckles. I wish I could offer you the same chance. That's it? I can't change your mind? Been a long time coming. And he opens the door for Ogden to leave. I wish it didn't have to be this way. He pulls out a needle from his pocket, sticks it in Ben's hand as they shake, and Ben pushes him back. He looks at him, he's like, what did you... And he grunts and groans. He falls back. His vision gets blurry. So Ogden drags Ben down the stairs, drives away with Faber. I don't know if it's Faber in the passenger seat. He's put into a bed somewhere. They put like a gown on him. He's handcuffed to the bed. Some blood's taken out. He starts to wake up. Faber tells him to stay calm. It took a lot of some secobarbital, some drug, to keep him sedated. So he must feel pretty rotten. He asks where is he, and she says there's a private laboratory. And then Ben notices that he's cuffed. He's like, what is this? Why am I? And she says everything's okay. She just needs to run some preliminary tests, investigations into his blood makeup, his proteins, his genetic material. And he's like, uncuff me. And she's like, this would be a lot easier, if he calms and lets her do her work. She says that, he broke into her office and stole her most important files. So did he read the files? And he's like, yeah. And she says then he knows who she is and what she's doing. And she's like, and I know who you are too, Mr. Spider. Let's not play games. I have a lot of work to do and not a lot of time to do it. Are we clear? But she makes it sound like, she's so smart. It's like, no, because Kat told her because she betrayed him. He's like, let me go and I won't kill you. And she's like, no, threats like that are why we need to keep you restrained. It's not a threat. It's a promise. She sighs. You're very convincing, but we know what type of man you really are. You ran into danger to liberate a camp of tortured soldiers. You saved Ogden's life. And then you came home and you chose to save a lot more. You're not a murderer. You're a hero. And he struggles. You'll never break those. We have enough drugs in you to weaken King Kong. Now I'm simply going to draw some blood. A child can sit through this. And he tells her it won't do her good because he's been here before. So we get a flashback to him getting bit again. He's lying in a hospital bed. He's twitching. He likes doing his arm twitches and everything like that. His feet go up and his hands go like claws. His fingers are all bent. More twitching, panting, grunting. He sits up. He looks at his wrist. He pulls some webbing out of. There's a web hole in his wrist now, and he looks at it in shock. So that answer officially answers a web shooter question, which we kind of already knew for a while. It's pretty obvious. So he grabs a canteen and then he can't let go of it. He finally manages to fling it off. More twitching, and then it's like he's sitting there. And it's like he's doing a crane kick from the Karate Kid. He's twitching and panting, and then later he's sitting on a cot and his arms won't stop twitching. So there's the muffled pulsing, warbling, so spider sensor going off. Some docs come in the tent, including, it must be a general or something like that. So Ben hops up and salutes with a grunt. The general tells him, at ease. He's sit. And his arms do a little extended, it's the Nick Cage twitch thing, whatever. And the general's like, are you okay? And he's fair amount of pain I hear. Nothing I can't handle, sir. And he's the most important thing is to get you comfortable. The good news is you've got the finest medical team in the world. I'll 100% focus on you. You can't beat that, can you? He's no, sir. And he grunts and pants. So the general tells a soldier to, get him a pop or a chocolate bar, anything he needs. Ben has, more arm twitches, big ones. And he asks, what's happening to him. The general says that he thinks that they're all wondering that, but they'll get to the bottom of it. It's don't worry. With Dr. Faber, he tells her that they cut him open, they pulled him apart, put him back together. They didn't learn a thing. And she says that she knows every detail of the Army's examination. She studied their findings exhaustively, but that was a long time ago. So science has advanced by leaps and bounds. He's you're one of them. And she's don't you dare confuse me with them. Those scientists only cared about war. They took one look at you, and they were just like the Germans. They wanted to use you as weapons. I'm trying to do the opposite. And then Ben's this is personal. And she's yes. And he's you lost someone? And she's my son. Have you ever lost someone, Mr. Riley? Someone so close to you that it felt like a part of you was gone too? He's yes. She's well, what if you could have done something about it? What if you knew that you were losing them, but that all the power to change that, to save them, lay in your hands? Wouldn't you do it? Wouldn't you try everything? So he thinks back to the laughing and being drunk at the bar while Ruby's car goes into the water, then him standing in the rain at her funeral. And she's like, "You can't bring your loved one back, Mr. Riley, but I can. Is that so much to ask?" So it's like, at this point, it's like, okay, she's talking about Ogden, right? So he comes in right then, and she's like, "A second chance for my son." So he has, Ogden has like the blood drawing kit and stuff that, she sent him out for. She's like, "Now you understand. There's nothing I won't do to keep him alive. Your friend and I have that in common." And then it's like, oh boy, here it comes. So she's going to rat out Cat. So she draws out some blood, and in a shaky voice, she's like, "My friend?" And she's like, "The woman who told me how to find you. She also has someone that she is desperate to save." So he thinks back to Cat, and he whispers, he's like, "Cat." And Faber's like, "She's quite beautiful and determined." And then he's like, "I'm scared." And Ogden's like, "Is he okay?" And then there's muffled, "Mr. Riley? Mr. Riley?" So she's like, "It's the blood loss. He'll have time to recuperate while we run the tests." And then he blacks out. So Faber's looking at blood samples through a microscope, and then she had groans of frustration. She's like, platelet counts, erythrocytes, something, hemoglobin. His blood is. I'm just laughing because I first learned about hemoglobin when I was in middle school, and that's when I was reading like the Hobgoblin comics. So she's like, his blood is utterly, completely maddeningly normal. And she's like, "Look, we know he's different. The answer's somewhere inside his body. We just have to find it." So Ben's awake now. He's like flicking his wrist, his cuff, like he's grunting. And of course, this is so silly. He notices a ring of keys hanging above a desk nearby. So it's like he just needs to use his webbing, right? But his wrists and hands are like bandaged up. He's like trying. He can't get the webbing to go out. And I don't know if they bandaged it for the handcuffs or if they knew about the webbing, whatever. But I guess for them, it's good that they did that. His spider sense goes off. Ogden comes in with a glass. He's like, "Oh, good, you're awake." He's like, "How are you feeling?" And he's like, Ben doesn't say anything. He's like, "I'm sorry about all this." He's like, I mean it." He's like, "You gave me no option." So he gives him a drink of water. He's like, "You must be thirsty." Ben drinks it all. Then Ogden steps away to get some more water, and Ben looks at the keys hanging. Ogden says that he was just gonna leave town after he told him there's a chance that he could save him and the other. And Ben's like, "Spider was never a hero. I only did it for the thrill." And Ogden's like, "Well, maybe you weren't then, but there's still time for you to become one." He's like, "I'm never getting out of here alive." And Ogden's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Your mother is insane." And Ogden's like, No, that's not true. She's just trying to save me." And he's like, "No, she's insane." So Faber returns and says that, she's sorry that his blood samples were enough. She's going to have to harvest genetic material from his organs. And Ben's like, "Stop." He's like, "If you haven't found an answer, it's because there isn't one." And she shakes her head. "I will never stop. What kind of a mother would I be if I didn't exhaust every option? There's always an answer, Mr. Riley." And she jabs him with another needle. And he tries asking, "What is that?" He starts passing out. Her voice becomes muffled. Faber asks Ogden to help her. So they start wheeling him out of the room. And she's like, "Science is about uncovering discernible facts." And her voice is distorted as they're going down the hall. "Now, the program that the Germans conducted altered their subjects' genetic makeup, led to corrosion, decay, instability. For some reason, you were the only one who gained power without degradation." He's like slurring. He's like, "Where are you taking me?" And he starts mumbling. It's like, and Ogden's like, "He's trying to say something." And Ben's like, "I like ravioli." Faber's like, "You will have ravioli, all the ravioli you want. I believe that whatever process that allowed the mutation to stabilize within your body can be retrofitted to finally cure the other mutations." And distorted, she's like, "You're going to have a nice rest now, Mr. Riley." So she has Ogden put an oxygen mask on and starts counting back from 10. Then the mask turns into a giant spider in his face and his eyes go wide. So startled, he grabs it, tosses it across the room, but obviously he couldn't because wouldn't he be handcuffed? So the spider scurries away. Now he's hallucinating. Ogden or Faber, one of them turns into the general dude who's like, "Cut him open. Let's see what he's made of." Ben starts screaming as the masked doctor moves a scalpel towards his gut. And as soon as he's cut on his side, little spiders start crawling out of his body, lots and lots of spiders. Then he sees the spider patient dude who bit him, standing there, snarling, his half spider face. Ben screams some more. The dude grabs his arm, bites him again. Ben gets up out of bed. He runs out of the room. He stops because he sees like Ruby in this other room. It's like standing there in a dress, open arms, and there's like curtains behind her. He's like, Ruby, and she's like, yeah, you dingaling. Were you expecting someone else? He's like, I missed you so much. He like hugs her and he's like stroking her hair and he's like, Ruby, Ruby. And then he feels like the back of her head and there's like she's wearing a wig and there's like something underneath. It's the spider's mask. And he's like, hey, Riley, thought you could get rid of me? You're nothing without me. And he like cackles. Then Ben, and he's like now dressed. He's like wearing like a sweater vest and he's like standing alone outside. He's stumbling about and there's giant like headlights headed his way. He like ducks and he jogs about. There's images of people like chastising and stuff like that. But it's like he's tiny because like there's Addison says he tried to warn him and now he's gonna burn. So he's like on his desk. He's like on a somehow he's teeny tiny. He's like a spider, right? He's running on his desk. Cat is full size, like sitting there, and she raises like a paper to swat him. He screams again. So he blinks his eyes open. He's like sweating. He's lying in the hospital bed or whatever. He's handcuffed. So Faber looks through a microscope and we see like different samples. One is marked liver. So she mixes a sample with something and she sees like a reaction happening under the microscope. And she's like, oh my God. So she gets a sample from Ogden's liver. There's like these spiky black cells getting attacked and absorbed by white ones. So she smiles and she takes Ogden's hands. Meanwhile, Ben is still cuffed to the bed. He's struggling. The bandages on his wrist have finally moved from just struggling so much, so he can shoot a web at the keys. So he flicks his wrist. First shot like knocks over this big glass jar. It falls off the little table and shatters. So he concentrates and whoosh, he's able to get the keys and somehow retract the webbing or bring it back. So he's got the keys in his hands. Faber's doing more experiments. And she's got like a full mad scientist lab thing with like all the glass and beakers and liquids like pouring all over or whatever. So she gets a syringe full of concoction, asks Ogden if he's ready. Before she injects him, he pauses and she's like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "Are you sure this is gonna work? What if?" And she's like, "I am sure as I've ever been. All right." He's like, "Okay, I'm ready." And she's like, "It's already done," because she had injected him somehow and he didn't even feel it. He like chuckles lightly, then he starts like grunting softly, and she looks concerned. So it's like something's gonna happen, right? Is he gonna turn into a spider or something? So Ogden's like shaking. So now the camera is like in between Ogden and Faber, and it starts like rotating around. We see like her reaction, and then it spins around, and then we see Ogden. He's younger again. So it's a way to save some money on visual effects, whatever. Having a transformation, whatever, it's fine. It's a 1930s. It's supposed to look cheap. So Ogden's younger. He stops gasping, shaking. Faber cries out. She kisses his cheek. She hugs him and looks him over. And then she goes and she grabs a mirror for him to see. And he's like, "You did it. You really did it." So more glee, hugs, and everything. And she's like, "My little freckles. Robertson will have published a story by now. So we need to clear this place out and get out of here." And Ogden freckles. He's like, "What? We need to give Riley the antidote first." And then she turns. "We can't do that, Augie. We kidnapped him. We operated on him against his will. The best thing for us, the only hope for us, is to just become different people. To disappear with no one left who knows anything about us." And he's like, "What are you saying?" And she doesn't say anything. And he's like, "No." So Faber's like, "They will throw us both in prison. I have not spent the last 15 years of my life trying to give you your life back just to have you waste away in a jail cell. I'm sorry, Ogden. His life was always the price of yours." And she opens a drawer and there's like a pistol inside. So he grabs her. He's like, "I'll do it." And she like stammers. And he's like, "After everything we've both been through, I need to look him in the eye, soldier to soldier." And she's like, "Okay." So elsewhere, a couple of cars are driving. Silvermane, Flint, and his driver are in one car, and he says he feels like a young boy on a Christmas morning. He's like, "If this doctor can give us the name of every superpowered man from that camp, we'll have an army nobody can stop." He's like, "Not even the GD Spider." It's like, the suffering they put you through, they'll rue today. And it's like, yeah, he's making it sound like he's doing this for Flint. It's like, no, he's doing this because he wants his personal army, and he knows that they're deteriorating every time they use their powers. So Ben is finally free. He stumbles like out of the bed. He has some like twitching fits. Of course. He spins a couple webs like to help him stand up for a bit. He stumbles out in the hall, more twitching, gasping, hand motions. He's like touching, walking, like he's walking on the floor like along the walls, but has his hands on the walls, I guess, to help keep him up. And then the elevator at the end opens and Ogden's there, like holding the gun out right away. It's like, how would he know to have the guns sitting out, when the doors open? And he's like, don't. And Ben looks at him confused. He's like, Ogden? And Ogden's like, you're right. She sent me to kill you, but you saved my life. He's like, least I can do is try to save yours. So Ben exhales. And then Ogden's like, just promise me you won't hurt her. And Ben's like, yeah? Like, I'm not the one with the gun. And Ogden's like, I'm not the one with the spider powers. And Ben's like, I'm just trying to get home. Ogden like lowers the gun. He's like, let's get you home. So Silvermane's cars pull up. Lonnie comments like, these doors are getting bigger and bigger. So rips off this big like steel door. Silvermane walks in first, which seems kind of crazy because who knows what's inside. In the elevator, Ben's like, wow, look at you. Marvelous. Just marvelous. You're back. It's like, what are your plans? And he puts his hand on Ogden's shoulder, which seemed a little weird. It's like, what's up with that? And Ogden's like, pardon me? And Ben's like, well, now that you've got your life back, what are you planning to do with it? Freckles. And Freckles laughs. He's like, I don't know. I've been preparing to die for so long. I never really thought about how to live. Then Ben starts like getting dizzy, and Ogden asks if he's okay. So Ben's like, what's the day? What's today? And Ogden's like, Monday afternoon. And Ben's like, oh, pooh. Robbie's chasing his pulsar. He's published the location of the lab. They'll be here any second. Then the elevator doors open. And this is where I was a little confused because Silvermane and his men are there. So, or I guess, I think it was just like a clever cut to like a different part of the facility. So maybe they're like on a different floor. And Silvermane asks, how many did he think are there? And Flint says that, there was a dozen of them at the camps. So, he imagines a lot made their way back to New York. And he's like, anybody had any trouble over years, they found their way to Faber. So they exit. And then Ben drops Ogden down. So I guess they're both up on the ceiling. I don't know. And I don't know if they were in the elevator, but it doesn't matter. So Ogden asks Ben if he's okay. He's like, oh, what's it look like? He's like, I'm fine. And he looks at his like cut wound and it's like blood, it's bleeding. He's like, oh, cherry red, my favorite. So the doors open. Ogden tells him, it's through there. And he's like, you're not coming? And Ogden's like, I'm not leaving her. And Ben's like, you can't beat those guys. Ogden's like, you're probably right, but she's my mom. So the doors close. Ben starts, off. In her lab, Faber's like mixing something. There's a little jar, it says antidote on it. Silvermane and his men enter, and she sets like the bottle aside. And Silvermane tells her to get up. Flint's like, what's the matter, Doc? He's like, you don't look thrilled to see us. And she says she's just surprised. Lonnie asks if it's because her secret lab's not secret no more. And, he lays out the newspaper, Secret Monster Laboratory. And Layden's like, so, monsters, are we? Silvermane says it's quite the operation she's got. Everything but a cauldron and two weird sisters. Flint says that the story says that she did this to them. And she's like, absolutely not. It's like quite the opposite. Drayden calls her a liar, liar. Silvermane tells everyone to hold their horses. And she kind of glances at the antidote. Silvermane says that they'll all have a civilized conversation. So he asks her if she knows who he is. And she's like, yes. And he's like, good. Now tell the boys you're not in the business of making monsters. And she's like, no. All I've ever done is try to help you all. So Dryden asks, how is old Ogden? Did he finally kick the proverbial bucket? And she's like, sadly, yes. So Silvermane says his friends say that, she's been treating their maladies. So he's curious to know if there are others like them. And she's like, yes. And she's like, I could take you to them now. And Silvermane's like, oh, they're here? It's like, even better. So they go down the hall, they go to an elevator. Ben comes out of the room, like after they walk by. So he passes an open door and he sees a spider costume. So he takes off his gown and we see like his stitch up incision. It's like bleeding, from moving around and everything like that. So Faber takes him down to like another area. They go down it looks like some stairs. There's like several mutated individuals behind glass. Like they're at first I was like, are they in suspended animation? But I think they're all dead. They're like just in giant like formaldehyde jars. I don't know. So the Lonnie, Flint, and Drayden, they're kind of shocked, and Silvermane almost looks disgusted. He's like, "What is all this? They're all dead?" And she's like, I did my best, but they succumbed to their mutations before I'd figured out a way to save them. And Dryden's like, and then you put them in jars like a bunch of freaks? And she's like, no, that's. And Flint's like, Johnny, that's Johnny Forte. So then we see Ben is dressed and he tucks his spider mask in his coat pocket. He sees the petri dish was his liver sample, so he takes the sticker with his name off of it, and he like just throws it away. Then he stops because he sees a newspaper. And then it cuts back to Lonnie tells Faber that she never cared about them. She's like, that's not true. And Flint asks if she knows what it's been like living like this. Their bodies are stronger, but they're weaker at the same time. World calls them monsters, and she's like, no, please listen. She's like, I finally figured it out. She's like, I can help you all if you just let her. And Drayden steps forward glowing. He's like, help us? You mean like you helped them? It's like, these men was our comrades, our brothers. We fought with these men. We suffered with these men. So he like reaches out, like zaps her, and she like flings, flies back a little and like smashes like a glass of like beakers and stuff in there. And then Dryden gets shot. Freckles or young Ogden like shot him. So Lonnie comes running up the block as Ogden keeps shooting. Then Flint grabs his arm, like twists it back to get him to drop the gun, and like punches him in the gut. So Freckle goes down, and Flint's about to hit him again, but then he stops. He's like, "Wait, I know you." He's like, "We were in the cell together. I grabbed the guard, and you put the knife in." And Faber like is on the ground, crawling towards the gun. Then Drayden grabs Freckles by the neck, like zaps him. He's like, "Nobody shoots me, you little bastard." Faber tries shooting him, but then he like grabs her gun. The bullet goes high, and Flint yells for him, like, "Stop!" He's like, "What are you doing?" So Lonnie grabs him from Drayden from behind, but the spark like sets the spilled liquid on the floor. It starts up on fire, and Faber's like, she's lying next to Freckles on the floor. She puts her hand on his cheek, so they're both too weak to move. So I guess maybe they're dying because getting electrocuted. I don't know. Silvermane says, there's nothing for them there. So Lonnie lets go of Drayden. Silvermane tells him that he's going to have to learn some impulse controls. And then outside, Perry and Pudge they're by the cars. They're just like talking about nothing, whatever. Like I think one says like oh, you got something in your teeth. Ben comes out. He hears them, and they hear some rumbling from inside. So Ben uses like that as a distraction. He sneaks by them. Silvermane and the three they exit. They get in the cars. They start driving, and then right then the building. Poof, big like flames and smoke like come out from like all the doors and windows, whatever. Ben's up on a hill, kind of crawling away, reaches into his pocket, he pulls out, he has a little bottle of antidote. And that's where this episode ends. But what I was wondering, and obviously we'll know in the coming episodes because there's I think just a couple left, but he's got this antidote. I feel like it wouldn't work on him. The antidote was made from him, so I mean, unless it's mixed with something else, I don't see how he could cure himself. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It seems like he's the only one that's not mutating, that's not dying from this. But it would seem weird that the stuff in him could cure him, because that would mean the antidote has been in him all this time, which doesn't make sense. So I don't know. But yeah, so that's a bummer. It's like Ogden and Faber, she spent basically 15 years trying to cure him. She cures him, and now they're gonna die. And she's like, I didn't do all this so you can die in a jail cell. No, she did all this so he could die in a ball of flames. So that was episode 6. All right, my adventures with Superman, season 3, episode 2, Mobile Suit Toyman. So I enjoyed it. This is weird because when you see like the image, so Toyman, mobile suit, it's mobile suit gunman. There's like this big mech suit, and it's like, oh, Toyman's gonna, and that was like such a small part of the episode. There's like a bunch of other stuff more happening here. So it starts off. It was kind of silly. It was a little annoying. Like this kid's soccer ball goes in the street. So of course he stands in the middle after he gets it. This car comes zooming along. The driver's like just sitting back, staring at his phone, which you're not supposed to be doing. Then he notices a kid at the last minute, tires screech, and then the car like thuds. And then Supergirl is like lifting the car up in the air. But it's like, wait, is that okay for the suspend? Whatever, She scolds the driver. She's like, pay attention, motorist. But also the kid, you shouldn't be. And I don't remember. I was going to go back. I don't know if the kid was in a crosswalk. So maybe they're trying to make it look like it's okay for the kid being in the street. But dude, you don't, because then like Superboy flies down with Keys carrying a kid, and he's like, "Look both ways before crossing a street." Which, yeah, you should do that. They're both at fault. Kids should not be running out in the middle of the street to chase a ball, and motorists should definitely not be on their phone. But so he high fives Kara. And then like, after we see she grabs a jewel thief and she's like, "These do not belong to you." She like throws him down at Superman. Another high five. The thief puts his hand up for a high five and she's like, "No." And then at a bank, robbers have these big high tech rifles. They get ready to rob a place. Superman flies in. The three dudes point their rifles at him, and the lady robber's like, "Guys, I don't think." And then zip zip zip, their rifles get hit by Kara's heat vision. They heat up and they drop them. The goons run out, and Superman's like, "Oh, well, that's one way to do it." And then Kara like high fives herself, but it's like the guys got away. The lady robber's like just still standing there, and we get the intro to the show. So we see in Metropolis. There's a I don't know if we saw this before or not. I don't remember if it was in the last episode, but there's a statue Superman and Supergirl in Metropolis. Okay, great. Jimmy is talking. He's talking. At first I was like, you just hear his voiceover as we're like seeing the statue and stuff like that. I was like, is he doing his Flamebird thing? But no, he's not. He's talking about Superfest at the Metropolis Convention Center. So there's going to be a convention. Kara's also excited. She's eager to show off feats of strength and she's going to encourage people to call her Power Woman. And Lois like laughs. She's like, "Good luck with that." And there's a big banner that says "Welcome Supergirl," and there's another one's like "We Heart Supergirl." And Kara's in costume. She's carrying a bunch of boxes, and this really bothers me. It's like I don't know if she's going to try for a secret identity, but she's putting out that her name is Kara, and I don't know why, but whatever. So she asks Kal-El. Clark is dressed as Clark, and she's calling him Kal-El, which you can't do that. She's like, how's he going to spend the day? He says after he introduces her to the public, he's going to enjoy the con as mild-mannered attendee Clark Kent. Jimmy asks Kara for one of the small boxes because she's carrying like this pallet, like big these little things, and she's like, "It will be my pleasure, Jimmy Flamebird." She calls him Jimmy Flamebird. And they like stare at each other, their hands touch, and then Lois gives like Jimmy a side glance, and he gets like flustered and clears his throat, and he says that he's going to make sure they all stay connected by wearing Flamebird watches. He says they're custom radio watches that let them radio Superman anytime, and Lois is like, like asks if they're really necessary, and Jimmy's like, "My dear Lois, when have we been to a gala, an event, or conference that didn't get attacked by supervillains?" He's like, "They're definitely necessary." Supergirl floats by and like spins. She's like, "I am most thankful for this token of his affection." So Jimmy like laughs nervously. He's like, "Oh no no no, these are for all my," and his voice kind of breaks, like, "closest yet platonic friends." And Lois grabs him. She's like, "Hey, you have a real shot with Kara, and you're blowing it." And he like holds up his watch. He's like, "Lois, I will call Clark." And Lois is like, "I get it. She's Supergirl, and you're well." And he's like, "Thanks." But Lois is like, "But she cares about you, and you're going to hurt her." And Jimmy's like, "Listen, I'm not going to trap Kara in a relationship with me when we both know it won't last." And she's like, "Nobody knows that." And, he's trying to talk quiet. So he sighs. She's like, "Kara spent her whole life in a cage. She deserves a real shot at what the world has to offer to find out what makes her happy." And Lois like, "And what if that's you, Jimmy?" He's like, "Look, I have this under control. No one's feelings will hurt. No relationships will be complicated. Everything is fine the way it is." And he turns and runs. But he's talking about if they start dating, it's not like they're going to get married. Like they can date, and if there's something better, it's not like she's going to be tied down to him for the rest of her life. Lois like, "But Jimmy," and he's like, "Hey, look, we're here." And she mumbles that he just never listens to her. He's like, "Okay." So then Clark's reading a comic. Flamebird presents Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. And Jimmy's like, "Yep, action-packed comics inspired by true events." And I think there's a couple of the Newsboy Legion kids. I forget what the girl's name is. Radio, or I don't remember what her name was. But I think, I don't know if they were working on a comic or something like that. And they're sitting at his table. And Jimmy hands Clark some of the comics to look at. And of course, Jimmy's being heroic while Superman is weak or suffering or whatever. And Clark's like, "A lot of creative license here, Jimmy." And Jimmy's like, that's what sells, Clark. As you know, I have grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and this is going to put me back on top. I forgot how he got his money in the first place. He inherited it or something like that. And he's like, there's always money in comics. So then, like, on the screen, Jimmy Olsen net worth pops up, and it says that he has $10 million. So I don't remember what he had before. And I almost forgot that he had all this money. But I remember every time he'd spend money, he'd charter a plane and his money would go down. He's like, today's going to be great. Then he gets hit by a few comics thrown at him by Lois. She's like, Jimmy, I'm the villain. So there's a cover of like giant deranged Lois holding up like two knives. The one's like bloody, the other has Superman's reflection. And she's like, why am I the villain in this comic? And what's with the teeth? Because they're all like sharp teeth. He's like, it's just marketing, Lois. Everybody likes an enemies to lovers story. And our metrics show that Superman's frenemy, Lois Lane, will be a surefire hit. She sighs. She's like, I shouldn't even be here today. She's like, why do I have to write a puff piece on Superfest when there are real stories to tackle? So she gets startled because Cat Grant pops up. It's nonsense, Lois Lane. And she holds a microphone at her. She's like, Cat Grant, Daily Planet. And Clark's like, we know who you are. And Jimmy's like, we work with you, Cat. And she's like, oh, darling, I begged Perry to assign you to the convention beat. And Lois is like, what? Why? And Cat's like, the name Lois Lane means something, my dear. No one knows Superman like you do. You'll find a story, just like you always do. Ha 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 ha. She laughs like boisterously. So Lois sighs. She's like, well, let's see what's out there. So she like looks around and she sees this like older guy in like a trench coat looking a little suspicious. She's like, that could be a story. So she grabs Clark's hand and drags him with her. So she's following this guy, and she's fighting through the crowd. She passes by like Starfire, Beast Boy, and Raven I guess they're cosplayers. But I saw an image of them online, and I was like, wait, they're introducing them to the show, but I guess they're just cosplayers, which is weird. Whatever. Clark gets distracted because he sees like a miniature tractor. He's like, hey, look at this, and Lois is like, we don't have time for that right now. She's like, the story is getting away. And he's like, you mean that kindly old man in the cabbie hat? And she scoffs. She's like, kindly old man? She's like, do you have any idea who that is? He's like, I don't know. She's like, that's Winslow Shot? She's like, AKA the guy who tried to murder me and my dad with explosive teddy bear. An explosive teddy bear, Clark. And he may look like an ordinary toy merchant, but he's up to something. Clark's like, and I'm sure you'll figure it out. In the meantime, I have to go introduce a guest of honor. Just don't do anything too extreme, Lois. And she's like, me? And she like chuckles. And Clark leaves. So nearby, it looks like Bizarro's there. He's dressed up as Superman with like a backwards S. It's like, how would he make a costume? Where would he get it from? Because he's got no money. And like, where is he staying? And why is the S backwards? And he like waves. There's like Superman standee that has like a hand that's like waving. So he like waves at it. And then the photographer with the Teen Titans cosplayers say they love your look, bro. It's like, say cheese, and they like pose in front of him. It's like, okay. Jimmy is he's arranging comics on a comic spinner. Kara comes up with red cheeks, embarrassed, and she says that she can arrange them for him. And he's like, no thanks. He's like, I'm good. She's like, then teach me how to operate the Earth currency dispenser. He's like, oh, I can cover that, Kara. She's like, then I will acquire hot dogs. And she's like super close to him. He's like, and then Cat sips in between them, scares Jimmy. He like screams, of course. Jimmy, Supergirl, you two sure do spend a lot of time together. Care to comment, lovebirds? And Jimmy's like, we're not lovebirds. We're not any kind of birds. Maybe flame birds. And he's like, you know what, Kara, let's do a couple, 2 single hot dogs. And she's like, of course. And she like zips off. Then the Cat, he's like, I know what you're thinking, Cat, but you are wrong. We're just 2 single hot dogs. Kara returns with 2 hot dogs, and she's carrying 2 people in her other hand. She's like, look, Jimmy Flamebird, I brought our favorite characters from the Challenger of the Unknown, just like our couple's costume. Do you remember? From Halloween? I do. And the 2 cosplayers are scared. And Jimmy kind of whines. And Kat's like, nothing between you two? And she laughs boisterously. Ah. Jimmy hangs his head. Supergirl like might notice. So she lets the cosplayers down. Then she hands the hot dogs to them, and they like scurry away. And she's like, Jimmy, may I speak with you candidly? He's like, sure, absolutely. She like takes his hand. She's like, you may not have noticed, but I feel romantic affection for you. I want you to be my mate, the way Kal-El and Lois are mates. And Jimmy's like, Kara, I care about you too, but there's a whole world out there. Clark, Kal-El, had a chance to see that world before becoming Lois's mate, and you haven't. She's like, I do not understand, Jimmy. He's like, what if there's someone better for you? Someone who can make you happier? This is such an important decision about your future. Are you sure that you've seen enough to make it? And again, it's like, dude, you're not going to get married for eternity. And she's like, are you saying that? And then the man over PA is like, all attendees, the Supergirl Panelpalooza is about to begin. Call us. So Superman zips over. He's like, all right, guest of honor, ready for your big debut? She looks at Jimmy and he's like, go get him, pal. And laughs nervously. So she like bows her head and she takes off. Superman waves at Jimmy, flies off, and Jimmy groans. So he's just being a knucklehead. Outside somewhere, a van pulls up, 4 goons in like bulletproof vests. They step out. One says that they need to do this quick, easy, and quiet. And this woman's like, "Niet, boys." So and something whips out, grabs a fire hydrant, whips it through a glass door. And the main goon's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Quiet. The last thing we need is fight Superman." And she's like, "To fight with Superman is exactly what I want." And her whip thing grabs a couple of cars, like smashes them, alarms go off, cars explode, and she cackles. If you want to be highest paid muscle in Metropolis, and I do, you must prove you can party with Man of Steel. She has like a Russian accent. In the convention hall, Superman flies over the audience onto the stage. The crowd's clapping, everything. Cat Grant sitting up there. Superman's like, "It is my pleasure to introduce your guest of honor and my cousin, Kara Zor-El, Supergirl of Metropolis." And she flies in, audience cheers. Jimmy's in the audience. Somehow he got there too. He has his phone up to broadcast whatever. He's like, all right, bird watchers, time for the main event. Superman hears like distant rumbling and alarm ringing and yelling. He's like, whoops. He's like, sorry to duck out, folks, but duty calls. And Cat's like, what a super guy, right? And how lucky are we to have you here, Supergirl? I'm sure our adoring audience has questions for you too. So for the first question, let's go to... Everyone's like got their hands up. She's like, me, Cat Grant. The audience groans. Tell me, darling, what's your sign? And Kara's like, I'm told it is your letter S. The audience laughs. Cat laughs. Delightful. Next question. Let's go to... Oh, back to me. The audience groans in disappointment again. What's your secret to such a luminous, dewy skin? And she's like, I wash it. The audience laughs. Cat laughs boisterously. Oh, you scamp. To be youthful and carefree. And Kara isn't too thrilled. Superman zips to the bank. He's like, guys, didn't we already do this today, huh? And he gets wrapped up in they're like Omega Red coils. So I don't know who this lady is. She calls herself the Whip. So she whips him against the wall. And he's like, what in the world? And then he's like, what's happening? So she's like, they call me the Whip. It's about time you showed up, handsome. He's like, miss, I don't want to hurt you. Ooh, but I would like you to try. So she sends out a whip and he puts up his arm and it wraps around his wrist. No big deal, right? Then it starts glowing green with kryptonite. And there's green veins on his hand. He strains and she pulls back, whips him across the bank. He's like, you brought kryptonite to a bank robbery? And she's like, I always bring best candy to party, my little umbrella. Umbrella? And especially putty with strong American mail, she laughs. Besides, kryptonite is easy to get now. Robots leave it all over the city. And I am, oh, so happy to share. Back at the con, Lois is watching Winslow give a little girl and her mom like a teddy bear. Lois startles him. He's like, hi there, Win. Invent any dangerous new novelty weapons lately? Anything that might detonate or explode? He's like, I'm sorry, miss, but do I know you? And she's Scott. She's like, are you kidding me? You tried to kill me. He's like, oh, yes, Sam Lane's girl. If you don't mind, please lower your voice. Your family already destroyed my life. She's like, I destroyed your life? He's like, I'm just a normal toy merchant running a normal business. She's like, you sure about that? He's like, no, can you please just leave me in peace and to share the joys of toys with others? And she's like, no. On stage, the big hall, Cat is still asking questions. Supergirl, you are incredibly charming. And she's like, thank you. But let's face the elephant in the room. May I pet the elephant? And she's like, Metropolis doesn't really need 2 superheroes, does it? I do not know. What exactly do you bring to the table, Supergirl? I think that person has something to say. There's a little girl with a super shirt on, raising her hand. And Cat's like, you with the hand, speak. And she's like, Supergirl's special because she's brave. You are a warrior. I like how Superman protects us, but I love how you fight for us. I wish I was as brave as you. Cat's like, adorable. And what is your name, mousy girl? I'm Jessica Cruz. Which, as you know who Jessica Cruz is, Green Lantern, right? And Supergirl's like, thank you, Jessica. And Kat's like, brilliant. So, what's next for Earth's one and only warrior, Supergirl? She looks at Jimmy in the audience. I need to make an important decision about my future. She gets up and she's like kind of floating. So I invite any and all eligible Earthling suitors to meet me in my booth after the interview. The audience cheers. Kat is shocked. And she's like, what? And Supergirl gives Jimmy a thumbs up. He laughs nervously. He's like, what? Superman is getting slammed against the walls. Ah, Superman, you are so cute when you suffer. He sighs. He's like, what's your plan here? I have great plan. First, ruin your day, then become highest paid muscle in town, just like you. He's like, I don't get paid for this. You do this for free? That is just sad, honey. Never give away what people will happily pay for. And she grabs him, slams him down again. He's like, not interested in your career advice. Too bad that I am interested in you. So she sends out her whips again. He like zips behind her, sees like a kryptonite power pack on her back. At the con, there's a line of dudes, and then there's a little kid at Kara's booth. A big dude asks her for an autograph for his boyfriend, and she's like, you look like Jimmy, only stronger. And he like laughs. Jimmy's glaring over from like a little ways away. He's like, he whispers, get away from her, muscle Jimmy. He's like, I knew you'd find someone better. I didn't know she'd do it today. He's like, oh, this is a disaster. And Lex is like, no, this is. And he's looking at Jimmy's comics, and he groans. He's like, who drew this, James? And he tuts disapprovingly. I never appreciate a slender frame. And Jimmy's like, why are you in here, Lex? He's like, I'm just so glad you asked. Like you, James, I am an entrepreneur on a mission, always on the lookout for innovative opportunities, and I have found an exceptional one. He hands Jimmy a business card. Stop by the presentation today. You'll love what we have to offer. Jimmy throws like the crumpled card in the trash. Lois is going through like a box that Winslow's tossing out of everything. I'm telling you that I am reformed. And she's like, and I'm telling you that I don't believe you. I do this for a living, And he's like, making a mess? She's like, finding the truth. Miss Lane, can we not do this? You're frightening the customers. And she sees like scared kids with their parents. There's a little girl holding a teddy bear. And she's like, wait, I knew you were hiding something. She grabs the bear out of the girl's hands. And she's like, hey, that's mine. And Lois is like, get down, everyone. This bear is filled with dangerous explosive. She rips the head off Fluff. And then the little girl gasps and she starts crying. Girl's mom's like, what kind of monster are you? Lois sees another kid with the Jimmy comic with crazy Lois in the knives. She's like, oh no, I am villain Lois. So guys are at Kara's booth. There's a guy playing a guitar singing kind of badly. The little boy gives her a paper heart. There's a mime trapped in a box. Jimmy's watching and groans. He gets to leave, but then Kat's right there. Pining for the one who got away. So Jimmy shrinks again. He's always getting scared. He's like, stop doing that, Kat. She sticks her tape recorder in his face. Jimmy Olsen, how do you feel about Supergirl's many new admirers? Will you fight for her affections? Is your heart heavy with regret? He like sighs. He's like, I told you, Kat, Kara's Supergirl, and I'm just Superman's pal. Meanwhile, Superman gets slammed into like the teller windows at the bank. Your low income is real turnoff, Superman. He's like, I'm not discussing my personal finances with a supervillain. He like grunts. She wraps her whips around him again. She pulls him up to him. But it's like, why doesn't he just punch her right there? And she's like, oh, too bad. I enjoy to get personal, but now I finish you. And she laughs. And we see the device like beeping lowly, like on her back. So she's running out of energy. The whip stopped glowing. He rips the whip off from like around his neck. And she's like, yet. She sends the other whip at him and it just like bounces off his chest. He's like, the party's over. So then we see her, she's wrapped up by her own whips outside like on a street light. It's like, but why leave me when fun is just beginning, Superman? He's like, no thanks. That was more than enough. Like Sam was like, have a nice day. And she sighs, I love him. Jimmy's reading a comic when Clark walks up. His sweater is like a little dirty. His hair is messed up. He like plops down. Jimmy's like, whoa, Clark, are you okay? He's like, being Superman it's harder than it used to be. It's much harder. And Jimmy's like, well, if it's any consolation, they love you in here. He's like, oh, I guess that's Then he hears Lois. I said I'm sorry. What more do you want me to do? And the mother's like, you ruined my daughter's bear. Clark groans. He's like, excuse me, Jimmy. I'll be right back. So the little girl's sobbing. Clark comes up, hands her a new teddy bear. He's like, here you go. The girl rubs her eyes, takes it, and smiles. He's like, please allow me to pay for that and the damaged one too. And he gives Winslow some cash. He sees a miniature farm, like cow and sheep. He's like, oh, I'd like one of these for myself. Oh, and that too, like pointing to sheep. He's like, please, we are so sorry. He clears the throat, right? Lois like, look, Winslow, I'm sorry. Then she sees some like rockets up on a cabinet, and there's like a big Gatling gun with like real big like bullets like feeding into it, and there's like more bullets in this other area. She's like, "Sorry, I didn't realize you were just an unremarkable old tinkerer." And Clark's like, Lois? Lois is like, "I overestimated you. There's no way a harmless little toy man like yourself could make bear bombs or invent incredible weapons no one has ever dreamed of. I was so caught up in our past and getting a story that I failed to see how you could ever be a threat to anyone, ever." His face is like twitching, and he's like, "Oh," and he grumbles like, "That's it." He lifts the cover on the wall behind him. There's like a red button. And shelves start moving. The giant mech suit is made, and he gets in. He's like, "Who's a toy man now, Lois Lane?" She's like, I knew it." And Clark's like, "I really wish you didn't." So the suit's like so big, the head's like kind of crumbling part of the ceiling. He like walks, smashes another person's table. They got up and ran. Bizarro's like watching. Lois gasps. She's like, and Superman's like, "I can't believe I do this for free." So he starts to take his glass up, but then a blue, yellow, and red streak passes him. So it's like Supergirl, right? Giant suit is like smash you, like 3 walls, goes outside, lands on his back on the street. Clark looks up through the hole, and it's not Kara. Through the smoke, there's a figure that looks like Superman, red glowing eyes, but has an L on his chest. And he's like, "What?" So Lex is there with a microphone, of course. "Friends," he laughs, "you've gathered here today to celebrate heroes, as you should. We have a homegrown American hero right here, Captain Hank Henshaw." He floats down as a giant mech suit starts to get up. "Captain Henshaw was shot down defending Metropolis during last year's alien invasion, but my human ingenuity and his iron will brought him back stronger than ever." So he like charges up, he zips at the mech suit, knocks it back down, he damages the street some more, and there's like the closed caption calls him Cyborg Superman. He's like grunting as he's punching. Lex is like, "With Captain Hank Henshaw on our side, we don't need to rely on the mercy of violent aliens to keep us safe." Bizarro kind of shrinks back into the crowd. Cyborg Superman lifts both fists up and he yells. Winslow's like yelling. He's about to get hit. Hank's eyes glow. Lex is like, "We have the power." Clark like watches. He's like wide-eyed. And then Lex to Lois. He's like, "Need a blurb for the planet, Miss Lane?" And she's like, to Hank. She's like, "Why, Hank? What is this about?" And he's like, "It's about taking back humanity's future, Lois." So later they're walking down the street. Kara's like, she's wearing normal clothes, wearing like a t-shirt and pants. She's like, "Kal-El, is Lex afraid of us because I have been bad?" And Clark's like, "No, they were afraid of me when I arrived too, but things change. If we keep doing what's right, it'll work out." And Lois is like, "What I want to know is how did Lex get Hank Henshaw to be his own personal Superman?" And Jimmy's like, "I mean, if it gets ugly, there's always real Superman and Supergirl to stop him, right?" At Lex court, Lex is like, "How do you feel, Hank?" And he's like, "Today went even better than planned." He's lying back on a table, and these robotic arms are like zapping him there. I guess they're repairing him, or I don't know. And Lex is like, "Who knew that washed-up Winslow would give us a perfect chance to show off your skills?" He like sighs. "We're another step closer to winning the hearts and minds of Metropolis, Hank." And then his like lower face is removed, showing like a metal jaw. And Hank's like, "And one step closer to saving the world from Superman." So it's like, what is Lex's plan? This is why I'm so glad Lex wasn't in a Supergirl movie. I'm like so tired of Lex Luthor. But that's the end of the episode. And then I don't think they did this last time. Maybe I didn't notice, but the end credits, they show Superman. He's like in a miniature toy farm. And Lois is standing like on her compass that her dad gave her like last episode. Jimmy's standing or sitting like on a big stack of comics. Kara's looking at like the Brainiac computer core thing that she had. And like Superman flies by. So it's like weird seeing them during the credits because we didn't have that before. But that was the episode. So that was My Adventures of Superman. And now the movie feature is Supergirl. DC Studios Supergirl, right? That's what we're calling it. Supergirl. So I just want to say I really enjoyed this movie. I think Millie Alcock did a great job as Supergirl. And it's so tiring, hearing all the people hating about this. Some people are complaining about her. Some people are complaining about her looks. It's like, what? Some people are complaining that, what was her name? What's her name? Tasha? The one that was in Flashpoint, where people are complaining. It's like, oh, and it's a way to complain about that we don't have the Snyderverse. And, some people are like, Supergirl and Michael Keaton were the best part of the Flash movie. And because like no one wants to say they like the Flash movie because of Ezra Miller, but they're using this, and people weren't really talking about Supergirl that much. But there's always people complaining about something. So we have this movie, and I already talked a little bit about it with how whatchamacallit, the like early the influencers going to see it, and people saying they loved it. But that's the thing. I can believe that because I did enjoy it. I thought they did a really good job. What and this is going to be like all over the place. What I really liked about the movie is that I enjoyed the last Superman movie. I had issues with it. I didn't like the whole Jor-El thing and Superman's mission. What I don't agree with that. David Corn Sweat, whatever, that's his name, right? He was a good Superman. I'm fine with him. But what I find is, I feel like we've had so many different Superman movies, and I did like his Superman better than Man of Steel. What's his name is a good Superman, but I didn't like the writing of his character and the choices that he made, and so forth. What is refreshing about Supergirl is this isn't just like another Superman movie. It's not like female Superman. Kara is her own person, and she's like really messed up, and I can dig that because for her story is different. It's not just like, oh, here's another person from Krypton. They have superpowers. It's just it happens to be a girl instead of a guy. I mean, her story is different because she actually, feels the loss of Krypton. Superman, he has no memory of it. He was an infant. He has no recollection whatsoever. And we get a flashback of like Kara, and because there's different they tweak some of her origin a little bit, but basically she grew up, and and I guess it would be Kandor, right? And with her parents and everything like that, and had to deal with the destruction, and so she knows what it's like to lose people. For Clark, he doesn't remember what his parents look like. He doesn't remember anything. So we have this whole different. She's really got survivor's guilt because she has no one to connect with. She is on Earth. When she got there, she would have had Clark, but that's not the same. She doesn't know him from Adam, as they say. So for her to be kind of messed up, it makes sense, and I like that because Superman, he is like I guess a contradiction of Jor-El's plan. His for whatever reason, I don't understand why he would want his kid to be like, ruling a planet or whatever. It just doesn't seem like it would be one thing if like Zod was going to send his kid. But we have that. So Superman is just, he's so noble, he's so good, and that's what's nice about Superman is that he's got all his power and he's not tempted to use it for his own benefit. We're also seeing that in like My Adventure Superman, the whole thing where he's not getting paid to do it, whatever. So you have that. That's what makes Superman great. For Kara, she's a different story because she doesn't feel the need to constantly be good or constantly put herself out there. Obviously, as we see throughout the movie, as much as she doesn't care about stuff, she doesn't want to be a hero. She can't help it. She still has to do it. And it's not like she's like, oh, I should probably. It's like she has no choice but to do it. Despite not wanting to get involved with anything, she has to because she is a good person within there. She's still trying to figure everything out. I mean, she went through so much. So that's what I like that she's messed up. It's a little cliche. It's like, oh, she's a hot mess. She's drinking all the time, all this like that. But it's like, well, what else? What would you do when everything, you lost your whole world? You're on another, planet, let alone another state or country or whatever. So she really has nothing. She has no connection to the people. And that's what I really appreciate about this is that it is something different. I also appreciate, as I mentioned, there's no friggin' Lex Luthor. This is based off the Tom King Superman Woman of Tomorrow comic. And one thing that's interesting, I don't think I mentioned this, but the director, he said that he very deliberately, that was his words, very deliberately did not look at the comic. He went off of Anna Nogueira's script. And I guess he didn't want to be influenced by that. So, and he did things a little differently. What I will say, from what I remember the comic, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the comic. And obviously there's the crypto stuff, but really in the comic, I mean, there's a different there's if you read the comic and watch the movie, there's a big difference in like the pacing of the movie compared to the comic. In the comic, it's almost like there's no sense of urgency. It's like because you see in the trailer, Crypto's dying, which I hate. You know, he gets poisoned, and in the comic, it almost felt like it dragged on. Like the comic could have been trimmed a couple. I'm not one for cutting stories short because I want as much content as possible. But it's almost like it didn't seem like it really mattered. In the movie, you know, right away it's like, okay, you got 3 days to do this. You know, you got to go across the galaxy or whatever. You got to find, you know, get that the cure or whatever. So that's one thing that's really great about the movie compared to the comic. Now, the other thing, what I'll just say, you know, Jason Momoa as Lobo, he does a good job as Lobo. I'm not the biggest Lobo fan, as I've stated, but he does a good job. Is Lobo necessary? Some people would say yes. I don't feel like he was like needed for this. He does serve a role. He does do some stuff besides just, you know, coming in and making comments and, you know, causing some violence, whatever. He does serve a little purpose, whatever. He wasn't like crucial, so he was fine. There's some good moments, but overall, I would say, I mean, I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought she did a good job, and they also really try to push it. Like she doesn't wear a costume in a lot of the movie. You know, she's just in regular clothes because she doesn't want to live up to that right now. You know, she's just out. She goes to other planets that have red suns so she can get drunk or whatever and just feel something, because you know she's still getting used to being on this other planet, having all these abilities. So it's just an interesting look at a Kryptonian. You know, because again we've seen so much Superman, 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 Superman. Nothing wrong with that, but this is just a different take. So I think that really works in this movie's favor. Now, I'm sure, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to complain because it's a woman beating up on dudes or whoever. So, of course, and it's not just dudes. You know, she fights some. I think there's three like female pirates, space pirates, and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. It's really good. I the girl that she's like kind of helping. If you read the comics, you know what I'm talking about. They add a little more to her like backstory, so it's not just her father that was taken from her. She's a little annoying because of the decision she makes, but that drives the story along. So you know that's fine. I don't know. I think it was really good, and you know one of the testaments I say I saw it Thursday night or Thursday evening, and then Thursday night, Steelbook goes pre-order, click. I ordered that right away, so I will definitely, this is a movie that I will pay for to own. So I do think it's worth seeing, and I just think everything about it was really good. The length of it, I think, was just under, how long was it? Was it around 2 hours or more than 2 hours? It was 108 minutes. So yeah, just under 2 hours. I think it was just really good. Now, how is the movie going to do? This is the other thing. The budget is supposed to have a smaller budget, but according to Wikipedia, it says the budget's between 170 to 186 million. I'm curious, what was the budget to Superman? Let's see, Superman 2025. Oh, and let's make it clear, James Gunn did not direct this. Superman's budget was 225 million. So 225 compared to, can we say 180 million ish, around 175 million. So it's not that much of a smaller budget, but it sounds like they're saying, yeah, it's going to have a smaller budget, so it has a chance to be more profitable. So I don't know about that. Reception, let's see. It made, let's see. It's so far as I record this, it's made 13 million, 7.8 million United States. That might be like Thursdays. I don't know if that includes any of Fridays. 5.2 in other territories. So 13 million. It's produced on a $170 million budget. although other sources claim 186. It was projected to earn over 55 million its opening weekend before factoring in ticket pre-sales. Deadline Hollywood said that unaided awareness of the film was even what for quadrants? It's estimated to have a break-even point of 315 million. Let's see. By June 20th, projections fall to 40 million. The Flash in 2023 opened to 55 million. June 24th, Variety says it's expected to make 47 to 50 million. So I don't know. Rotten Tomato, let's just go there. Right now, the critic score, so this has fluctuated a little bit. You know, it's always dipping back and forth. So by the time you listen to this, it might be a tiny bit different. 57% critic score, 76% audience score. Okay, so I mean that says something considering people seem to be so negative about everything. Like Brian T said, lots of sass and kicking ass. But then Alan says, pretty bland hero flick. The final axe fight scene was longer than it needed to be. What do you want it to be? I don't understand. Yeah, so critics. I don't know if I should go through these. What people say. Tribune News Service 2.5 out of 4. Disappointing. Someone reach what? Lola's lamb chops. Supergirl simultaneously tries too hard and not enough to be super. Millie Acock is the best thing about it. Real views, despite an intriguing arc for Millie Alcock's title character, the film repeatedly stumbles, losing momentum. I don't know. I thought it was fine. So yeah. People, I don't know what critics want with these. You're going to see a friggin' superhero movie. What do you expect? We had big visuals. We had all this space stuff, aliens, spaceships, fights, flying, crypto. I just don't understand when people go into these movies and they're like just so disappointed. It's like, what do you want? Do you want it to come in like give you a back rub or something? It's like what? Why are you just so miserable and just not happy? Just enjoy the movie. It's not. It's not like gonna cure hunger for the world. I just don't understand when people are just like so this is just okay. What the heck do you want? And I mean, is your life so like fast pacingly nonstop exciting that something like this is just bland to you? I thought it was fun, and I thought it had really good visuals and a lot of cool moments, and then that needle drop, people complaining about that. It's like, oh my God, do you need to complain about everything? Do you need to, you're like grasping at straws. I don't understand. So I enjoyed it. But like I said, I know people, not everyone's going to like this. It's not for everyone. I thought it was a lot of fun. 76% of the audience gave it favorable reviews. So people are enjoying it. It is not just like a chick flick. It's got something for everyone, and I thought it was fine. Now, I will also say there is no mid-credit scene, no end credit scene. Apparently, the director wanted it to like stand alone, which is kind of cool. You don't see that these days because usually, everything's got to fit. It's part of the DC universe. It's got to connect to something else. But no, he wanted like the final scene to be like the final scene. Like that's it. Let's move on. So that's cool. They could have easily try to do something to Man of Tomorrow or whatever the next Superman is going to be called. But it was good. So I enjoyed it. You should. I don't know if there's anything more to say. I always feel like Supergirl is an underrated character. I think she's got so much potential. The comic, even the current comic, it's fine. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it could have a little more oomph. And that's why I'm not reading it all the time. I'm like, I don't have time to read it. I'm not gonna miss anything. Is how I feel. So I feel like there is so much potential with Supergirl, and she's just vastly, criminally underused in comics. And I don't know. We'll see. So hopefully we get more Supergirl in the movies. I don't know what the current state of DC Studios is with the Warner Brothers sale. I don't know what I've been meaning to look up. Is like what's have they announced anything about James Gunn? Is he still have a 10-year plan? Is his plan cut short? I saw something that maybe she's still going to be able to focus on the Superman corner. I don't know, but I hope we get more Supergirl and more Crypto if he survives the movie. So yeah, that's Supergirl. I mean, what more can I say about it? It's just it was fun, and I just don't understand all the different reactions. Yeah, everyone's entitled to their own thing, but I mean, until we get Spider-Man, that's going to be a different story. This was a lot of fun, so I really think it's good to see. And also I will say we'll touch on controversial maybe, but Kara does do something, and I think it's okay that she does that because again it sets her apart from Superman. She is not Superman. She is a totally different character. So I feel like I'm okay with that, and I know that if you know what I'm talking about, some people might say, "Oh, you're a hypocrite," but no, this is Supergirl is not Superman, two different stories. So, I thumbs up. I approve of this movie, and I think you should see it. And I think you should tune in next week for next week's episode. But that is going to be it for this week. Is that a good segue? Big thanks to Andrew Loken. He is an awesome supporter. You can be an awesome supporter. You can be any sort of supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones here or higher, you get access to the Secret Podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30 minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. I've been doing some Off My Mind episodes. I talked about the Amazing Spider-Man 1000, John Romita Jr., Paulo Rivera cover controversy, and I talked about something else recently. Living in like the Marvel universe. It's kind of like superhero universe, but it was more Marvel because I wanted to include like Galactus, like threatening to eat Earth and Skrulls and stuff like that. So you can check those out on Patreon. You can also buy them separately. Because if you can't commit to monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 7. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. All right, so what is going to be on next week's episode? Well, I have obviously Spider-Noir, My Adventures Superman. I don't think Cape Crusaders starts just yet. As far as the movie feature goes, I haven't decided because I was trying to figure out what's going on. The only thing opening next week is like there's young George Washington, and it looks like it could be a good movie, but it's old timey stuff, and you know how I feel about that. And then I saw someone said, "Oh, fake Christian movie made by fake Christians." It's like what? Or fake history made by fake Christians, or I'm like, what does that mean? So I don't know, because Jackass. I want to see the Jackass movie, but at the same time, if it's like old and new, I don't need to see like best of. I just want to see new stuff. So I don't know. There's Minions and Monsters. I'm not gonna see that. What I think I might, if it's still showing. Oh no, I might have missed it. Because there's Furious. I do want to see that, but I think it might be gone from my theater. There is Death of Robin Hood. I don't know who's in this. I don't know anything about this, but isn't it at 824? Just a little old timey. I really want to see Furious. So it'll be one of. I think we'll do one of those because I don't know about this young George Washington. Maybe it'll be good. But yeah, no Furious. Oh man, I don't know. So that is going to be it for this week. I hope you are doing well. If you live in New York City, I hope you're not having any issues with Madison Square Garden streets being closed off around there because of stuff happening, which is going to be so annoying to have all these streets closed off. And I hope you're finding time to do good things, fun things. Hope you're having a good summer plans, and I hope I can talk better. I hope you remember, be good to each other.